Well, this week's show is brought to you by the Fours. The Fours are here for you. 444-4444. Jeff Davis, have you been hurt in a car or truck accident? If so, call Fours. They are here for you.
Please note that Jeff Davis is not an official sponsor of this podcast. The views and statements of this show do not represent those of Jeff Davis, although we hope to secure sponsorship soon. Jeff, please call us. We're here for you.
Love you, Jeff.
And we
love what you do for the city.
Gosh, just a San Antonio legend. And he's a UT guy, too. Could it be any better? No. Speaking of UT, how does Bama jump them on number one after blowing that lead? That's bullshit.
Yeah, they beat the number one team or the number two team in the country.
Yeah, but they blew.
It's the best win.
But they blew the entire game at home.
They did.
Well, I mean, if they had blown them out, I was gonna have no gripes.
And then they threw it up to a 17-year-old who made the play of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy's crazy.
That guy's unbelievable. Okay. We had a lot of stuff go on this week. 3 top 10 teams went down in college football.
Oh yeah, most importantly, shout out Bearcats. Uncle T's what do we call my
double-digit dog of the week?
Double-digit dog of the week. And actually,
they were only an 8.5-point dog.
Nope. When we made the pick, guess what it was at kickoff? 11.5.
Did it actually?
It moved
that
much. Yeah.
There was that much sharp money on a Texas State.
No, there wasn't sharp money. It's just everybody knows who Texas State is, and it was just the public. No one knows.
Sure, but the public usually doesn't move a line 3 points.
Hell, I don't know. Regardless, down 22-0. Never doubt, come back to win it on a last second field goal.
Gosh, how did they blow that? I mean, I'm glad. Look, I'm all for Sam Houston State winning. I want them to
Jeremiah said this out there a few beers. You're a fake Sam Houston State fan. And we all know it. He said Dylan was cheering for Texas State quietly. And then when I texted you, you're like, how did Texas State lose? I feel bad for him. Jeremiah was disgusted.
Well, dude, like, first of all, you think I watched that game?
I'll have to have him send the video. The video of us watching the last kick is pretty funny.
Yes,
Jeremiah's like, he missed it. And I was like, no, he didn't. He snuck it in. And then he started screaming outside.
Oh, yeah, you said what was it, like a 27-yard kick? He almost missed it?
It was a short one. But, hey, listen, he made it. All you got to do is put it in between the uprights.
Come on, you son of a bitch. He missed it!
No, he snuck it in.
Oh! Yes! Yes! Let's go, Cats!
Oh
Let's go!
He tried to miss it.
He tried!
No penalties. Get on the sideline.
Let's go!
And how did that only 1 second
Let's
come
go!
Oh.
Let's go, Cats!
Yes!
Keeler, you're a genius!
Dude,
you're a genius, Keeler!
That kid tried to miss it. Oh, my God.
What did they score, like 23 unanswered or something to win the game by 1? They were down at least 17.
They were down 18.
18, yeah.
Well, they started down 22.
I know, but
then they were down 18.
But late in the second half.
So it was 20 unanswered, I guess.
It was touchdown, field goal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. To win the game by, was it 40-39? Yeah, so they're down 19 because they went, touchdown, field goal. Yeah, that was a crazy comeback. Poor Texas State, because I thought they were a playoff team. Look, that was my playoff pick, but I'm happy for Sam Houston State. I'm not a fake Sam Houston State fan. How dare you? Now, I thought Texas State was going to win. No, in honor of Dikembe, who died today.
Rest in peace, big man.
Rest in peace to Dikembe Mutombo, who died today. Legendary basketball player. But yes, happy for the Bearcats. I cannot believe they came back and won that game. Texas State must have just fell asleep. But look, credit to Sam Houston State. They played great. They deserve to win.
Thank you.
Okay, they deserve.
That's all I needed to hear.
Good pick. You think I'm anti Sam Houston State over here? What do you mean? I just like Texas State. I wanted them to make the playoff. I picked him. Okay, yeah, but obviously we had a bunch of upsets in college football this week. It feels like wacky college football is back. NFL, the trend continued of weird things happening. Very few big favorites winning. I know San Francisco won yesterday, but the Jets blow that game into the Broncos.
Yeah, that was an ugly game. Shout out Bo Nix. Negative 7 yards passing.
Legendary
performance. Threw for -7 yards in the first half and won the game.
And he threw for -7 yards in the first half. And
that's a record, right?
He completed 7 passes. He completed 7 passes in an NFL game for -7 yards. In fact,
that'll never be touched. That'll be a record that stands forever. And the fact that they won the game, that'll certainly never be touched.
He threw for 60 yards the whole game. 60 yards, and they won by 1 because the Jets were so bad on offense. We're going to get to that when we get to the ugly, because that was the ugliest game I've seen in a long time. That felt like a Steelers Ravens 3-0, or the old Roll Tide LSU games back in the day when their defense was a real thing.
9-6 or whatever those games were. Those are awesome.
My Cowboys got the win on Thursday, though. That was a big win. Mike McCarthy decided to kick a 55-yard field goal with under a minute to go and make it interesting, but we did hold on. Dallas holds on.
Danny Dimes benched, too.
Wait, they benched him?
That's what I've heard.
Stop. Who are they starting? Who's the backup? Don't tell me Tommy DeVito.
Drew Lock, baby.
We said this week one. We said this week one that he should be starting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they announced it. I saw it somewhere. I saw that the players were asking for a quarterback change, and then I don't know if they made it official, but I think Drew Lock's starting this week. And the funny thing is, Dimes, he
hasn't even been that bad, honestly.
Well, this last game, he threw an interception, but not really. He just threw it down the field, so he actually played pretty good. That was the last play of the game. He just chunked it up, and obviously whoever it was for Dallas.
He completed 73% of his passes for 280 yards. And if you take away that interception, he just didn't have a touchdown.
Did we find it? Did they bench him or no?
Maybe I made it up. I don't see that.
Maybe I dreamed it.
I don't know. Dude, I had a nightmare last night. I watched that show. Bailey, have you seen that new show, Netflix, about the Menendez brothers? You know what I'm talking about?
I watched it.
Dude, oh my gosh. It's like, have you seen it, Turner?
Mm-hmm.
You saw the whole thing?
Yeah, I fast-forwarded through a lot of parts because I didn't need to hear it's
I watched it, unfortunately. I didn't know it was going to happen. I mean, I knew they were going to get killed, but I didn't know, when they were walking in, I didn't know. Maybe I did know. I just watched it anyway, but, she gets her fucking hand shot off. I mean, it was just.
Oh, yeah, I didn't fast-forward through that. It gets graphic about the
sexual.
Yeah.
I'm not that far yet.
And there's, the problem with that show is, and I know they want to try to go into as much detail as I can, but it's there's, therapy sessions. They're sitting there, and it's I see them talking for 30 minutes, and it's just all about that. And I'm just okay, well,
I don't
need
this.
to. No,
I don't want to.
I'm actually more excited for they're doing. It's funny how
it's a documentary,
the actual documentary.
Yeah, it's coming out in a week.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Menendez brothers hated the show. Well, that's because they are probably telling the truth. And
there's a sports card that's worth a lot of money because it's a random one, but it's just. I don't know if it's worth a lot of money, but it's worth something instead of nothing. It's a Mark Jackson card, and he's dribbling the ball, and they're playing, I guess, the Heat, or they're playing in New York. I can't remember. But the Menendez brothers are sitting on the front row.
No fucking way.
And they're in the car with, all the money, right after they killed their parents.
Stop.
Yeah, I promise. Yeah, you can look it up. It's a real card. Yeah.
Dude, that's actually crazy.
And they're sitting on the front row. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
They used that picture,
I don't know when they... Yeah, I mean, obviously it was years later. I'm sure that someone discovered it. They said that they were at that game and whatever, but pretty funny.
They were from California. They just traveled around, I guess, after they killed him because they had all that money or whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, look, I don't want to get into it. Let's move on. Okay, let's talk some sports for the week. I guess we'll start with the NFL. I'm going to give you a trivia question here.
Let's hear it.
Oh, Bailey just sent the picture of it. Hold on. I'm going to look at it real quick.
Is it Mark Jackson's card, Bailey? That's what I thought.
Dude, that's pretty good. Holy shit, you're right. I can see him on the left. Okay, I'm going to post it. I'll put this on the screen. That's crazy, dude. Wow. Dude, they're creepy looking, too. I mean, I feel bad for them, but then I don't. Okay. It's only selling for $20?
Yeah, but the whole deal is that card would be worth 10 cents. Now it's worth $20.
Bro, I just bought it.
Nice.
I just hit buy it now on this. I just bought it. We're putting this on the show. 100% we are. This is awesome. Okay. Get that by Emma Navarro Ball, your Mondo Ginobili bobblehead that you found.
Yep.
All right.
Looking up Daniel Jones news here.
I've got, you look that up. I'm going to give you a trivia question. See if you can get it off the top of your head.
Let's hear it.
Can you name all 8 current NFL division leaders, as we are going to start talking about NFL right now? Can you name all 8 NFL division leaders?
Let's see. Houston Texans.
Yep, got that one. AFC's pretty easy.
Minnesota Vikings.
Go AFC first.
Okay, AFC. Chiefs, Texans.
Chiefs, Texans.
Steelers.
Right?
They're still up there. And then who's the last?
This one's
Buffalo Bills.
There you go. Got all 4 of those. So the only surprising one there probably is the Steelers. Those other 3 are pretty that doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
But then the how about the NFC? Vikings you got?
Vikings, let's see. Then it's the
one of them plays tonight.
Seahawks.
Yeah,
because they're ahead of
3-0.
Yeah, they're 3-0. And then Let's move into
NFC East.
It's either the Saints or the Bucs. Saints.
No, that's it. No, it's the Bucs. They're 3-1.
Oh no, yeah, and then the NFC
East is
the Commanders.
Commanders.
Yeah,
so NFC is Vikings, Seahawks, Commanders, and Bucs.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that after 4 weeks? Those are the four divisional leaders. Nobody.
Got $1 million to 1 on
$1 million to 1 on those. Crazy. I was thinking about that last night. But yeah, we had a. I guess
players I guess have called for him. They haven't made an official announcement, but it looks like he might get benched, I guess. But I like you said, after the last game, it's probably the last 2 games he played have not been bad at all. So
I don't think that's their problem whatsoever. I don't know. What am I doing? I forgot about our best thing this week. Best thing we saw.
Mine was the Bearcats. I already covered it. So
okay.
Well, what do you?
No. Here, you're gonna like this best thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna screen mirror it. I saw this last night by accident when I was watching a highlight of the Miami game, and this is fucking phenomenal. If I can get this to play.
You see how I'm sweating? You know why I'm sweating like this? What a game here tonight. 38-34. The U wins again. I've never worked so hard in all of my life for a victory, even when I was playing football.
All right, we won't watch the whole thing, but it's just great.
Yeah,
he was going nuts on the sideline.
I saw a picture of him just going bananas on the sideline. Like, what is Michael Irvin on the sideline over there to be going
this
hard?
He's not high because he's sober. Supposedly, he's high on the U. He's high on the U. That's what he says.
Undefeated.
Used to be high on cocaine all the time.
Yeah.
Now he's high on the U. But the playmaker, Michael Irvin. Like, that's literally Michael Irvin right there. Okay, that was the best thing I saw this week.
Yeah, he's interesting.
But that game was crazy. I guess we'll get into that when we get to college football. But okay, now we'll go into some NFL. So let's do this. We're gonna play a quick game called Pretender or Contender to start the NFL.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna go. I got 5 teams. I'm gonna give them to you. You tell me Pretender or Contender, and we'll discuss them, and then we'll go to good, bad, and the ugly. All right, number 1, the 4-0 Minnesota Vikings. Pretender or Contender?
Listen. I can't lie to you and say I don't think anybody in the world has thought they were a contender, but I think Big Cat tweeted it best yesterday. It was just like, the Minnesota Vikings are really good. Like, I think they're definitely a contender at this point. They've pretty much beat the hell out of everybody they've played. You can only play who's on your schedule. And, I mean, I know the game looks somewhat close. It was like the classic, like you said, Dak Prescott against the Ravens, where the Ravens just beat the shit out of the Cowboys. But, the Packers score late with no time on the clock, basically. And Jordan Love's stat line doesn't look as bad.
He was horrible.
It was terrible. But, yeah, the Vikings absolutely dismantled the Packers yesterday. I'm going to say contenders.
I think they're contenders, too. Like, the only argument you could say for pretender is, well, their quarterback, Sam Darnold. Like, do you really trust Sam Darnold as a Super Bowl contender? But I'd argue, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about it on the show last week. What quarterback in the NFL is playing good? There just isn't any quarterback who's playing like, I would say Josh Allen going into last night was the best quarterback. He didn't play bad. Their team was bad last night. But there haven't been like some phenomenal. So it's like, do I really care at this point? Sure, in a playoff game, am I going to take him over Mahomes or Josh Allen? No, but he's playing really well. And to his credit, and we'll get to the Vikings probably back in a little bit when we get to the good. But to his credit, the Packers did come back a little bit in that game and got it to, I think, 28-22 with like 9 minutes to go. And after it looked like they were kind of collapsing, he took them right down the field, 9-play drive, got him in field goal range, and basically sealed the game right there. So he's done exactly what's been asked of him in this offense. And, they look like a real contender. All right, number 2, the 4-0 Kansas City Chiefs.
Obviously contenders. Back-to-back champs. The issue is just with all the injuries, right? But what they have working for them at this point is they're 4-0. So even if they do take some losses, as long as they can get those guys healthy, Rice is done for the year, correct? Did they say that?
They said they feared torn ACL last night. By the way, if you are on the street and happen to get dove into by somebody and get your leg taken out and you tear your ACL, have to go to the doctor. Go ahead and call Jeff Davis.
That's right.
All right? Call Jeff Davis. Call the Force. They're here for you. Get yourself a settlement. All right? Your knee might be worth $500,000. You don't know. All right? Depends what job you do. All right, Jeff will get you the maximum settlement, and you only pay
Always.
if he wins. I think. I don't know that that's true. All
I
right,
think that's what the commercials say.
Back to the show. All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, back to the show. Yeah, Kansas City Chiefs. They're contenders for sure.
Yeah, just all the injuries. I don't know if Rice is done for the year, right? I mean, it's still going to be tough, but we always talk about it. Kelsey looks like a shell of himself. He obviously had a little bit better game this week. They didn't have anybody else to go to. He played fine. And when the playoffs roll around, he'll turn it up. He'll be in shape at that point. He'll turn it up, be ready to go. So obviously they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough team to beat. The defense looks pretty good. So
yeah, they
pretty much shut down the Chargers yesterday. Chargers just don't have anybody to get any separation on the outside. So
no,
Herbert's a sitting duck back there, especially when you bring 6-7 guys every play.
Not to mention he's injured, so you're playing him unhealthy, can't move very well, and you have no receivers to throw to. It's I mean, look, I like Ladd McConkey, but this guy's not separating on every play and getting open for him. And Quentin Johnson is getting better, but he's still not. Yeah, he's barely a number 2 or 3 guy.
He was back to his old self yesterday. Yeah, I think he had one fantasy point.
Yeah, but at least he didn't have a bunch of drops. I'll give him that. But yes, I completely agree. Question: if you're the Chiefs, do you go out and trade for a wide receiver right now? Because
you have to.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they went out and got Hollywood Brown. He's done for the year. He might play in the playoffs if they, he might be okay in the playoffs. But so he's out for the year. Rashee Rice is out for the year. You're basically down to Worthy. You're down to, and you lost Pacheco too. You're down to Worthy. And Pacheco was a good receiver out of the backfield. And then you have Kelsey, like you said, doesn't look that good. And it's like, who else do you have? Watson? Like, that's about it. That's about all you got. I think you have to. Who do you go get?
Yeah, I was just trying to think in my head who you go get.
Devontae Adams, but the Raiders are 2-2 now. They're not like tanking yet.
Yeah, I don't think you can get him yet. Let's see. Let's think of a name here. Let's go get. Yeah, I mean it is a tough one. I mean, maybe you call. At this point with the season gone, maybe you call the Bears and if DJ Moore's healthy and try to get someone like him.
They just re-signed him. I don't think.
Did they just re-sign him? I didn't know. That's what I was about to say.
I actually wouldn't have known that, but in Hard Knocks, they showed them getting him a big deal on his contract.
I thought he just had like 1 year left, and I was like, at that point.
They just re-signed him to an extension.
Yeah, that's not going to happen then.
He's not going. I don't know. Like, if you think about it, I don't think that the Dolphins would do this. I actually am going to come back to the Dolphins in terms of a quarterback here later in the show with a bold prediction. But like, if I'm the Dolphins looking at this, if I think Tua might literally not play ever again, I'd trade Tyreek Hill. Because what's the point? Just tank at this point and rebuild. Now, they're not going to do that. But Tyreek Hill said he's only playing through this contract pretty much. He said he's not playing like deep into his career. Now, we'll see, because he's got 19 children and a lot of mouths. That's a lot of mouths to feed, right? You got to feed a lot of mouths. That's a lot of money, a lot of child support, 9 different women. It happens. We get it. Okay. If you need a good divorce attorney, call Jeff Davis. But
I don't even know if Jeff does divorce.
We don't know, but he'll
call him anyway.
He'll get you a settlement. He'll find a way. All right. He's the best. He does it all. Man of the people.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking Bailey's beautiful Tennessee Titans being 0-3. Maybe you call them and just go get DeAndre Hopkins.
It's a good idea.
Because he's just a vet, a pro. He's lost a step, but I think that he could obviously help the Chiefs win,
Sure.
and someone like him, someone that you're not going to be giving up a lot for,
Sure. I also, and we'll move on to the next team, but I will also say, even though I do think the Chiefs are contenders, regardless of who has it, and they're going to be great in the playoffs, the fact that they're 4-0 is a joke. They realistically should be 2-2 probably. And there's a way they're 0-4, right? Yeah. Like, they're an inch away from losing week 1 on the Isaiah Likely catch in the end zone, and they, the Ravens go for 2 and probably score. Week 2, they're a 4th and 16 pass interference call, and the Bengals rushing 3 away from losing that game. Week 3, they 100% lose if a PI call is given to the Falcons. And then this week, the Chargers are up 10-0. Rashee Rice goes out, and then the Chargers have a 1st and goal at the 3-yard line and can't score points, and they end up losing the game 17-10. I mean, very well could be 0-4. Very well. Now, I get it. You have Mahomes. You're going to win close games, but there's a legitimate argument that 2 of those games they should have lost. They should have lost.
Yeah, I mean, 2-2. You expect them to come up with a win in some of them, but yeah, this game especially, getting down there on 4th and 1, and they go play action pass when the Chiefs are just bringing everybody,
and Herbert can't move.
Yeah, I don't know.
Number 3, San Francisco 49ers. They're 2-2. Are they an actual contender here? This is actually an interesting one.
Yeah. Once again, I would say yes. I mean, I think they were on paper, the Super Bowl favorites for a reason before the season started, weren't they? Them and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So they're definitely a huge favorite to win the NFC. They haven't looked great They blew that one game to the Rams. You obviously know.
Yeah, I do.
I think, they're definitely contenders. The issue is spending the money on Ayuk, which, this year isn't a huge issue, right? Because they haven't paid Purdy yet, but they're going to have to pay Purdy, and then you're going to have that contract. They're going to have to hope that he does something okay this year and then trade him. But I don't know if he's going to take that deal. But they gave him way too much money.
They pay him 30, right? 30 a year? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
The thing about the Niners that I will say is, like you said, I mean, you touched on a lot of this here, but Ayuk looks like he's content to just be, average. He wasn't, I mean, you said it. He was great in his contract year, and that was it. Well, what he saw as his contract year, right, which was last year. That was his best season of his career. He was not, great for most of the start of his career. He got better, and then this year he looks below average. Juwan Jennings has looked like their best receiver, to be honest. But here's what my problem with the 49ers. It's twofold. Number one, what is their offense without Christian McCaffrey? They have played nobody good. The only good team they played was the Vikings, and they got dominated in that game. Despite what the final score says, they were thoroughly outplayed.
Yeah, they got smoked.
And then the other thing is, so and again with McCaffrey, do we know? Is he gonna come back? I don't know. They're going to see a specialist in Europe about his Achilles. He may not play this whole year. We don't know. And then you look at the other side. The defense looks as bad as I've ever seen them. And I'm glad they fired Steve Wilkes. He was a horrible coordinator, terrible coach. Is it Dante Stallworth who goes on ESPN now? I think he's on First Take. I think that's maybe not Stallworth.
Could be. I don't want.
Anyway,
I don't watch,
one of those guys on there loves to talk about how good of a coach Steve Wilkes is and how they should never have fired him at Carolina. Worst coach. Just horrific. Anyway, 49ers defense with a new defensive coordinator, all that talent. They look horrible. They look like a sieve.
So maybe Steve Wilkes was a great coach.
But no. Maybe
the proof is in the pudding.
Maybe DeMeco Ryans was that good.
Yeah,
okay,
because
since he left, they've been terrible. And we know how good the Texans have become with DeMeco. All right, number 4, pretender or contender. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-1.
I mean, come on, pretenders.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, come on, contenders.
No, God, no. They can't win the Super Bowl, but they're gonna go 8-1 or 9-8.
I called it. They were going to go after 3-0. I said they're going to go 3 straight losses. They're going to lose to Dallas this week for sure, and they're going to lose the next week.
The Steelers are going to steamroll the Cowboys.
Oh God, no, they're not. You're going to pick them on the. Are you going to pick them on the Pick'em show?
No,
they're going to pick the Cowboys.
Yeah, probably.
There you go. So how dare you say that? Look, as you talk shit about my Cowboys, I'm going to talk shit about your Bearcats. All right, don't you dare go there.
The Cowboys are hot garbage.
What did we bet?
I don't know. It was
we
actually
bet a Diet Pepsi bet the other day. I forgot what it was.
You'd have to go back and check the tape.
Shit. Okay. We'll go. Oh, dude, I swear, I think it was Florida State when they won against Cal. I think that's what we bet, didn't we? Or was it an NFL game? I don't know. We'll have to go back and look. Anyway,
you could be right. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, I think we did another Diet Pepsi bet, and I go, I don't even know what it is. And it's funny that you don't either.
I don't either. I can't remember.
Yeah, it could have been Florida State Cal. Now Florida State turned back into who it just shows you how bad Cal is. They got steamrolled by SMU.
Yeah, that shows you how bad Auburn is.
Little sneak peek ahead. You're going to hate this one probably too. SMU is going to steamroll Louisville this week too. That's going to be
I love that. I think
double-digit dog.
Oh, they're double-digit dog?
No, I think they're only like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Which I was actually surprised they were getting.
We'll make it. I just like the topic because I can go triple Ds. We can call them the double D pick of the week. The double D, the 34 double D pick of the week for Turner.
So stupid.
All right, last one quickly. Commanders 3-1. Contender, pretender.
They're a really good team right now. I love the offense is just absolutely humming. I mean, what they flashed a stat. It was Tressway's first punt since week 1 yesterday, and it was like the third quarter, I think. I mean, and the other one, Daniels got a little greedy and threw a pick. It was just one of those deals where I think he's been hearing, he doesn't throw it down the field, and he just tried to force one in there, and it got picked off. But other than that, man, he's playing unbelievable, and there's no question that who the best rookie quarterback is.
Not even close.
It's not even close.
Not even close. I think they're a contender for the division. I don't think they're a contender for the Super Bowl, but they're probably going to make the playoffs.
They could easily win. With the way the Cowboys and Eagles look, they could easily win the division. Not saying they will, but at this point with a game lead, I would think I think they have a 40 or 50% chance. Because I just think the offense is going to keep playing that way, and he has the defense playing slightly better. They're not great by any stretch.
They're pretty bad.
They're not great by any stretch, but they're better than they were last year. I know they played the Bengals that game, and the Bengals just scored on every possession.
Yeah, I mean, like
yesterday they looked pretty good. No, now, I think the Cardinals suck, but they looked pretty good in that game. But
their schedule's easy. I mean, their only game that like as bad as the Bengals look. Think about who they've played. Like think about if you think about it preseason, it's not that easy. But Buccaneers lost by 17. Then Giants should have lost. Did not score an offensive touchdown. Bengals, Cardinals, and they're 3-1. And I'm not shitting on them. They have been a pleasant surprise. Have they exceeded expectations? Absolutely. Can they win the division? Absolutely. Jayden Daniels has been awesome.
Yeah, just never going to win a Super Bowl this year.
But you look at it's just like bad defense, bad defense, bad defense, bad defense. Like, are they when they play like a couple? They could go Browns and Ravens the next 2 weeks, and not that the Browns are any good, but both of those are better defenses than they've seen. So I'm interested to see what Jayden Daniels does the next 2 weeks. Obviously, you and I have been higher on him than anybody. We said he should have been taken number 1 overall. We understand why he wasn't, because the Bears GM has to save his job, and everybody's saying Caleb Williams is the bona fide number 1 pick. And if Jayden Daniels busts, the guy gets fired. If Caleb Williams busts, it's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But both of us said, from watching Jayden Daniels for multiple years and watching Caleb Williams paint his fucking nails, that it's very obvious that Jayden Daniels is better. And nobody agreed with us, but now they do.
Big Dog's coming on with painted nails today. It's a big surprise for everybody.
If he does, I'm leaving. I promise you, I'm going to walk off the set. It's not happening. All right.
Bailey, send him a text message. Remind him.
Do not do that.
He's going to put Dub Bears in his nails.
God,
Caleb.
Oh, man.
Caleb Wills.
Okay, let's go do good, bad, and the ugly here. All right. You want me to start or you want to go?
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to do Minnesota Vikings. I have Minnesota Vikings and Jayden Daniels on here. I'll come back to one of them because we've already talked about him. But let's go to Derrick Henry from last night. That was his second consecutive 150-plus yard game this season. He went for 25, 151, and 2 touchdowns last week against Dallas. Last night, on the first offensive play for the Ravens, went 87 yards for a touchdown, which, by the way, was the record for the longest run in Baltimore Ravens history, which was surprising to hear. He went for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. He was dead tired after a couple runs, and he ended up losing 4 yards and fumbling into the end zone. So, he was very close to a 200-yard, 3-touchdown game last night. If he wasn't just dead tired, they took him out and let him sit for a second. But look, the dude's 30 years old.
Yeah, he needed 1 more yard to get the 200 and that, right?
I think he needed 1 more for that. Yes, but then he lost 3.
Yeah.
He ended up with 196.
Yeah.
Yes, I think he was 199 a touchdown. That's why he stayed in there.
I want the ball to get in 200. And
then he was trying to stay in on the next play, too, after he got lost 4 yards. And then they took him out for 1, put him back in, and then he fumbled into the end zone. Anyway, yes, he's 30 years old, right? In running back years, that's like,
500.
Yeah, it's like quarterback being like 42, right? Like it just doesn't happen where a guy goes for 196 at age 30. Like you never see it. And he didn't look great the first 2 games, but they also just didn't run the ball all that much. And look, it just shows how stupid the Dallas Cowboys are. Could have gone and gotten him for cheap. A bunch of teams who needed running backs could have gotten him for cheap, similar to Aaron Jones with the Vikings. And I love that these older guys are playing well. I like that Derrick Henry is playing well. He looked great. I mean, look, the guy's unbelievable. I mean, he was at Tennessee for 8 years, and I want to say besides his rookie year, he ran for 1,000 yards every single season. He's on pace to run for 1,000 yards this season. He's had double-digit touchdowns every year of his career since year 1. The guy's an unbelievable player. He's one of the greatest running backs of all time. And, to do this at 30 is impressive. And it was fun to watch last night against a Bills defense that people think is at least pretty decent. Like they're not horrible. And Derrick Henry, 30-year-old, running for 200 yards.
My top one was just the Ravens in general. I mean, they started 0-2, really beat the shit out of the Cowboys week 3. The score looked way closer than it was. Last night, held Josh Allen to 16-29 for only 180 yards. One of them was just a crazy play that he made where he rolled out of the pocket and chunked it for 50 yards. So, I mean, if you take that one out, but he's always going to make a play like that. But to hold him to 10 points and just absolutely dominate the game, Ravens got back to playing kind of their style of football, not making Lamar Jackson do too much, make the easy throws, hand the ball to Derrick Henry. And then you also got to give a shout out. You're giving Henry a shout out. Fullback. What is it? Richard? Ricard, whatever. Yeah, he was absolutely hammering people last night, opening up polls. And someone was like, imagine dealing with the Ravens offense where you're like trying to count from Lamar running and then you have Ricard hitting you in the mouth and then next just trying to tackle Derrick Henry. It's like it's not a lot of fun for 60 minutes trying to deal with that.
Shows you how stupid the Ravens are to blow the first 2 games. I get it. Week 1, you lose to the Chiefs. That's fine. But week 2, to lose that game at home to the Raiders was pathetic. But yes, they've turned it around big time. Oh, dude, they almost blew. It's so funny though. It's 3rd and 9 last week versus Dallas. And they're a play away from a punt and being probably 0-3 the way that game was going. Like, it's funny. The NFL is such a small margin. Now, they dominated the game, and it should never have been that close, but it's just weird to think about that. But Ravens looked great the last 2 weeks. John Harbaugh, I'm completely out on him as my problem. I just don't believe in him. I mean, last night,
great coach.
Like calling the back-to-back timeouts last night before halftime was just like, got to delay a game on 4th and 1. They got the first down. Just the challenges he's thrown this year. I think he's 0 for on challenges.
Yeah, no, it's really weird about the challenges because usually teams have someone upstairs. They're like, "Hey, challenge it" or whatever. It seems like he's almost just doing like
just guessing.
People are like telling him like, challenge it, and he does because like there's been a couple that he's done that were like not even close. And I've seen I almost feel like, and I don't think this has happened, but it almost seems like the league has told him that. You can't have like a guy that's just because I know that's not the case, but some of the challenges have been so bad that it just seems like coaches are guessing on the field.
Yeah. No,
like Eberflus had one that was like, I forgot which one it was, but it was like not even
against the Texans that night. I think.
Yeah. And it was like, that wouldn't even, does he have someone upstairs telling him to challenge that? Because it wouldn't even close.
And then I heard, I don't know, it might've been, it was last night. I heard the Bills hired
somebody to
not Matt Austin, he's the one who comes on, but it was a former head of officials to be their guy up in the booth and be like watching the game feed and telling them when to challenge or not, like an actual guy who used to be an official, like, yeah, you're gonna win that challenge, which I thought actually is a really smart move for the Bills to do. But yeah, it actually, to me, it feels like for Harbaugh that he's reacting emotionally. He just seems like everything is based on emotion. Like he gets mad and like thinks that he's right and throws a challenge, or last night, like he gets mad and calls time. Like he's just an emotional coach is what it looks like. And they blow games all the time, man. I don't know. I'm out on him. I think his brother's much better. All right. My second one, or do you have since I did that one kind of, do you have a second one or do you want me to go?
Yeah, no, my second one was CJ Stroud. He played much better. I mean, he didn't start obviously great. And we were like, oh, this could be the sophomore slump, whatever. Sure. Yesterday was pretty good. 27 threw it 40 times, but 345 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins was unbelievable. 12 catches, 150 yards.
He was great.
Touchdown. Yeah, he's been awesome. So I'm glad Will traded him to me in fantasy football. I can always count on Will for sending me the guys I want on my roster. But I think, some of the games haven't been great. They got manhandled by the Vikings. The Vikings beat up on them pretty good, but to be 3-1 and winning the division is pretty good. And like I said, I thought Stroud was much better yesterday. So
sure.
And I think the Jags, we can talk about them later when we get to the ugly and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say about it, and I know you're a Texans fan, and is Colts, Bears, Jags. Those are their 3 wins. That's the only thing I'll say about them.
You can only play who's on your schedule.
Yeah, well, they've only beaten those teams, and they've lost to the one team that was good by
the greatest team
27.
In football. Greatest team in football. Greatest team on turf.
Yeah, well, C.J. Stroud in that game was 20 of 31 for 200 yards and a touchdown and 2 picks, and he was sacked 4 times. His QBR was 27.
He was bad that game.
He was bad that game. And
that's why I made him good today.
And to be fair, he wasn't good against the Bears. But no, I agree. He was. I mean, he threw for
he was okay against the Bears.
He just was. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He wasn't like okay. I'm saying relative to expectation.
No. Yeah, no.
He's been below expectation in all 3 of the first games. But I agree.
Yeah.
This week he was good.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good, and they don't win the game without him. Threw for the highest amount of yards he's thrown for this year, most yards per pass, and had his highest QBR. No, I agree.
Damn, Nico Collins had 8 for 135 and a touchdown against the Bears too. Yeah, he's been
awesome.
He's got to be leading the league in receiving, right?
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know. He's got to be up there.
Like in yards.
Yeah, in yards. Anyway, he's got to be up there.
Far this season, 489. Yeah, he's really
151, 86, 135, and 117. That's pretty good.
That's funny. I was actually going to say that the second guy, like the guy I was going to say who could be close is Malik
Jennings.
Well, Malik Neighbors is who I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
And Malik Neighbors is 2, and Juwan Jennings is 3.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is 4. Damn, Jayden Reed is 5, and he had Malik Willis thrown to him 2 games. That shows you how good he is. Okay. my next good is going to be, I'll just go ahead and do this, even though we kind of touched on the Commanders earlier, but it's Jayden Daniels. And, I understand, like I said, I named who they played earlier, the Bucs defense, the Giants defense, the Bengals, and the Cardinals. Is it a gauntlet of a schedule? No. But he's a rookie, and 3 of those games came on the road. He started 3 of his first 4 starts were on the road, and he's led them to 3 wins, 1 loss. Yesterday, like you said, he threw his first pick. He was still 26 of 30 for 233 yards,
That's
a
insane.
touchdown, had 47 rush yards and a touchdown. I believe he's got 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, and only 1 turnover on the year, which came yesterday in a win. He's finished his first month as a rookie 87 of 106. That's an 82.1% completion percentage, which is the highest in NFL history by a rookie in his first 4 starts, and it's not even close. He has been absolutely phenomenal so far. And look, it makes sense when you put an adult in the room in Washington that this team looks better with Cliff Kingsbury calling the offense over Eric Bieniemy, who has been relegated to calling plays at the college level for he's just, that guy was the worst offensive coordinator. And it was so funny listening to all the talking heads on ESPN. How could Eric Bieniemy not get a head coaching job? Oh my gosh. And the guy's out of the NFL. Anyway, Jayden Daniels, awesome. In a different realm than Caleb Williams right now. In a different realm than Bo Nix. Like, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix are on the cusp of, like, if they weren't, like, first-round picks and their coaches weren't attached to them, they would not be starters in the NFL. They would. Neither of them are starters in the NFL. Jayden Daniels is a top 15 quarterback right now in the NFL. He is. Now, will that continue? Which remains to be seen. We're week 4. But barring epic collapse or something turning around, he's winning Rookie of the Year, almost offensive Rookie of the Year, almost 100%. Like, he's probably minus 1,000 or more to win Rookie of the Year right now. And we're 4 weeks in. And he was probably plus 1,000 or plus 500 to win it going in, because I'm sure Caleb Williams is a massive favorite. You got another good or no?
No, I was just going to move to the bad. I always go 2 and 2.
Go ahead.
Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles, bad.
My man.
18 of 30.
One read, Jalen.
158, 1 touchdown. Terrible. They need to give the ball to Saquon Barkley a lot more. I don't know what they're doing. Saquon only had 10 carries for 84 yards, and he busted one for 60. Like, if they're gonna have any success, Jalen's gonna have to run it downhill more. They're gonna have to hand it to Saquon Barkley. Credit to the offense for the Bucs are fun to watch. They throw it everywhere. Godwin's having a good year, like you said. Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, and Rashad White are pretty much. It's funny, they both had 10 carries for 49 yards.
Right.
So good distribution there. But yeah, the Bucs are a fun team. I actually, ultimately, I think they're going to end up winning that division.
The Bucs?
And I don't know why. I just have a feeling
they're probably are. They're the best team right now.
Ended up winning by a game. Defense is certainly not great, but offense can put up points. But yeah, mainly this is the bad. This is about the Eagles. So they got to figure it out. Now, to be fair to Jalen, because I know you hate him, and I'm not a huge fan by any stretch, he obviously doesn't have A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith playing.
Okay, he didn't have Devontae Smith yesterday, but he had Devontae Smith the week before. He was just as bad.
True.
So,
no. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just talking about this game in general. But yeah,
you still have.
I don't think he's very
like
good.
Last week. You have Goddard and Smith still, right? You have Saquon in the backfield. Like, this line,
run the ball, right?
Run the ball. But that's the problem, is they think Jalen Hurts is a quarterback. And like I've said for 4 years, he's not a quarterback. He is a running back in the backfield who can sometimes throw the ball. And he's called one read Jalen for a reason, because it's one read and then break down and run. And if he tries to do more than that, it's a disaster. Through 4 games, he's thrown 4 interceptions and he's fumbled the ball 5 times. 3 of those fumbles have been lost. He leads the league in turnovers with 7 in 4 games. Okay, he is a disaster.
Damn,
right.
Did he fumble in this game?
Yes.
A couple times or something?
Because, he fumbled twice and lost 1.
That's why I'm saying
he fumbled twice and lost 1. He thrown 4 picks, has 5 fumbles.
Also got sacked 6 times in this game.
Yeah, and that's him holding onto the ball. They have a good offensive line, right? Like, he can't read a defense. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to do 1, 2, 3. Like, it doesn't happen like that. He doesn't process things. He never had to do that at Alabama. He didn't have to do that in year 1. And I swear to you, dude, Kellen Moore does this to every quarterback. He thinks He wants to turn him into Peyton Manning. You want to make Jalen Hurts be a guy, go to the line and be like, let's check here, and this is where this guy. No. When was Jalen Hurts effective? When the year one, they said, run this play. If it's open, throw it. If it's not, run. And if he does that, then he can be like a really, really good NFL player like Lamar Jackson. Never going to win a Super Bowl. Never going to win a Super Bowl. But he's going to be like...
He was close.
He's never going to win a Super Bowl. Right? That was
lucky big dogs. You're the lucky big dog's not here.
Do you know how good...
One of the greatest Super Bowl performances of all time.
Yeah, really good fumbling the ball to the Chiefs for a touchdown to flip the game. Yeah, he was so good in that game. But with his three tush pushes,
big dog would just be irate.
His three tush pushes right there were just incredible. 3 rushing touchdowns. They're all from the 1 yard line. But no, seriously, I've been saying this for a long time. Without AJ Brown, what is he? Put him on a team with like average receivers and an average line. He's a bottom 10 NFL quarterback, plain and simple. But I like your bad because that's one read Jalen right there. Okay, we'll move on. And you probably, I'll go to another quarterback. How about Jordan Love? Okay. You pay the guy $55 million a year based on a sample size of basically half of a season, right? He comes out in the first game against the Eagles, completes 50% of his passes. They lose the game. He doesn't look good. He gets injured. They start Malik Willis the next 2 games and win both games. A guy who has never won an NFL game, had never thrown for more than 70 yards in a game, and they win both games. Jordan Love comes back. I get it, it's against the Vikings, but it's at home. He comes back. And what does he do? He throws 3 interceptions. He played horrible. Sure, you want to look at his stat line and say, he threw for all like 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's because they threw the ball every single play when they were down. And it had nothing to do with, like, if you watch the beginning of the game and it was a neutral game script and it's 0-0 or 7-0, he couldn't even get a first down. I mean, it was so inaccurate. It was embarrassing. And some of his touchdowns even were just jump balls. Threw 3 picks and fumbled, I believe. I think he had 4 turnovers. So he's 0-2. Malik Willis is 2-0. And you paid the guy $55 million for that. I mean, it's pathetic how bad.
Your dad was right about Malik. He said never give up on Malik.
Yeah, that's what we take away from this, right? That's what we take away from
Even
this.
though he's a Jordan Love guy.
He's always a Jordan Love. I asked him where he played for college football. He said Arizona.
That's a good guess. It was close.
Yeah, no,
he knew he played late at night. He knew it was Utah State.
I'm sure he watched a lot of Mountain West football. But no, look, Jordan Love. Like I said, I did a video on this on him and Tua 4 weeks ago, and I said, what's the worst contract? And I couldn't tell you. And now I think, honestly, it might be him because at least Tua not playing can't turn the ball over 4 times in a game. Jordan Love completing 55% of his passes and 4 interceptions in 2 games is pathetic.
Oh, I saw this crazy stat talking about Tua and the Dolphins. Hold on, let me find it. The Dolphins have, like, for tonight's game, the Dolphins have $450 million, like, in contracts that aren't going to be on the field.
That's actually hilarious.
It's like Tua, Bradley Chubb, whatever their best lineman's name is. I always forget. Armstead. They're still playing Kyle Fuller. He's scheduled to make $15 million this year. Yeah, it's really bad.
I mean, yeah, and they're playing who tonight?
Who are they playing tonight?
Tennessee Titans. That's the dumpster fire.
Bailey, are the Titans going to get it done, or you think they're going to lose tonight? Honestly, I'm curious what you think. Yeah. What about is Skylar Thompson, or is it going to be Huntley?
No, Huntley starting.
Oh, then I'll take the Dolphins.
Yeah. Look,
Huntley's. I like Huntley as a backup.
He's much better than Skylar Thompson, that's for sure. Yeah. But 1 weekend learning the offense, who knows? Okay, my other bad. Oh no, I just did that bad. It's yours.
Oh, my other bad is it's the Jets. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. They're good last week. They're 2-2. They looked good last week. This week, I guess Surtain just took Wilson away completely, and they couldn't. Now, get it. The weather wasn't great. It was rainy and all kinds of BS. But I mean, they didn't do anything against the Broncos.
Yeah.
And the Broncos just absolutely. I don't know if it was what they did scheme-wise to just absolutely stop the Jets dead in their track. But, I mean, the Jets lost this game like we touched on. Bo Nix had -7 yards passing in the first half, and they lost 10-9. I mean, that's almost impossible to do. They did show on X a big penalty where Alan Lazard gets up after getting a first down. This was actually a killer, and it was actually really stupid. And he was just saying first down, but he did guns like this, and they gave him a 15-yard penalty on the ground. Not kidding. And it was when it was at that time it was 9-3, I think, and they were going into like score, I don't know, or maybe it was because they ended up with 9 points.
Maybe it was 7-3.
Whatever. They were up. Yeah, everything was 6-3, I guess, because they got a field goal in the fourth. So it was 6-3 at that point, and they were going in and score a touchdown, and they got like a 20-yard gain down to the 20, and he did that, and they flagged him.
That's
garbage. And then the guy missed a field goal. So you gotta be smarter than to do the gun celebration.
Some of these guys, I'm telling you,
the referees are crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Like J.J. Watt was talking about CeeDee Lamb, who got the 15-yarder. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, that's not a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
Where he turned around and was like screaming at the guy. He's like, if you don't want him to celebrate, stop him. And that is not. He goes, I get some. Like if he would have ran back and gotten his face or something, it's one thing. But to yell from the end zone and celebrate, like that's not a 15-yard penalty.
I agree 100%. I think that's ridiculous.
The officiating's gotten out of control.
I'm going to get there and get to the ugly. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Just the Jets-Broncos game was going to be one of my uglies, but I'll just mention a few of these stats here because it was hard to watch. Luckily we have 8 games going at once when we're watching these, so we don't have to focus on these terrible games. But the Jets averaged 3.5 yards per play. The Broncos averaged 3.3. The teams had a combined total offense of 400 yards, 7 for 32.
I'm surprised it's that many, honestly.
Because the Jets had like 240 or something, and the Broncos had 180 total. The Broncos had 60 yards passing the entire game. The teams were combined 7 for 32 on fourth down, had 19 total points. Broncos win the game despite having only 186 yards of total offense. The Jets got called for 13 penalties in the game. We know how bad Bo Nix was. We'll get up there in a second, but it was the finish of the game was just as ugly. It was 4th and 10 for the Jets, like on the 50. They go for it. Rodgers gets sacked for like a 20-yard loss. Then the Broncos get it back and get 3 runs for 0 yards, kick a 50-yard field goal. They miss it, give the Jets the ball back. The only yard the Jets gained on their final drive was a pass interference call, and then Zuerlein has a 51-yarder to win the game, and he misses the kick. It was the ugliest end to a game I've seen in a long time for one of the ugliest games I've seen in a long time. All right. My only other bad was, you have real quick so I know, do you have the Jags and the ugly?
I was going to have it.
Okay, then I'll wait. No, that's fine. I'll go. My last bad is going to be the Rams. The Rams,
they're just bad.
They're just bad. I mean,
everybody's hurt.
They're 1-3. They really should be 0-4. They played one good quarter of football. And I don't even care about talking about this, like in terms of how bad the Rams are. Like we've if you watch football, you know the Rams are bad. But I just want to give my hot take on this. Okay.
Yeah.
So this roster's old, right? I love me some Matthew Stafford, but he's old. Cooper Kupp is old, right? Aaron Donald's gone. And so Sean McVay came into the league. He was the hot, like young commodity, right? Like the young play caller, they're very, very aggressive, right? He is not that anymore, right? He is not young. He's not innovative. He's become a conservative play caller. I mean, they get inside the red zone and it's ultra heavy run, wasting downs for no yards with an inefficient back in Kyren Williams, who I know people like, but the reality is he's not been effective this year. I think so. Since McVay won the Super Bowl, right, with Stafford, and look, did McVay have a part to play in that? Sure. They went to a Super Bowl before that with Goff, but that team spent a shit ton of money, had a really good defense. Wade Phillips was their defensive coordinator, who's like, a veteran, really good, defensive guy. Since McVay lost Phillips and since McVay won the Super Bowl, you know what his record as a head coach is? 16-22 as a head coach with 0 playoff wins and 1 playoff appearance.
Yeah, I think I agree with you somewhat, but I think what happened there was, and luckily, obviously they hit the lottery with Puka, right? But they hit the lottery with him. He's hurt now. But I think I remember when they won that and everybody's thinking they're going to be fucked for 5 years after.
Yes.
That's why everybody thought they were going to, he was going to end up retiring because they went all in to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
All the draft picks, all the money was spent. I mean, they were like, okay, they better win it now, otherwise they're in deep shit, right? So I think we're seeing the deep shit now for sure.
And that leads me perfectly into my hot take.
And Aaron Donald obviously retired,
right? And which didn't help, and probably was unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Was probably a good move by him. But this leads me to my hot take, right?
Yeah.
Which is this, okay? So you have Matthew Stafford. As old as I think he looks, my feeling is, like you mentioned this last week, like he kind of can do it with anybody. He can't do it with nobody, though. And I think he's got football left in him. I think he's got 2 to 3 years of football left in him. One at least really solid year. Maybe this year, maybe next year.
Yep.
If I'm the Miami Dolphins here, and I don't know what his contract's like, maybe this maybe this isn't doable, right? But if I'm the Miami Dolphins here, I find a way to add him because I think Tua is done for the year. You're trying to win now if you're the Dolphins, right? If I'm the Rams, I need draft capital, right? Stafford's never winning me another Super Bowl. I'm absolutely like, hey, look, we're 1-3, right? We're probably not making the playoffs. Everybody's hurt. Deal him to the Dolphins. The Dolphins give them a first or a second round pick or whatever they want, whatever they agree to. I don't know if the contract works. That's probably it. Stafford could win a Super Bowl with that roster.
Oh, for sure.
He could win a Super Bowl with that roster.
I mean, we talked about it before. Yeah, they should trade. If they could, I think if they could, they probably would. The only way that trade works, I think, money-wise, is they would essentially the Dolphins would have to send Tua to the Rams, and then the Rams would have to eat the contract almost. But if they did that, they would have to send like a first and second round pick,
right?
Too. But the Dolphins are only going to do that if they think, like, if it's like he's going to. I think the only way it would essentially work is like if he was going to medically retire and they owe him 100. Say, okay, you send him here. We'll eat that money in the contract, but we also want 2 first-round picks, for you, or something along those lines. I don't know how that would work.
If it's a medical retirement,
that's a great question.
Does that go on the cap?
Don't know. Yeah, I think
they have to pay it, but does it go on the cap?
I don't think so.
I think so
if he retires, he absolutely medically can't play anymore due to concussions, I don't think it counts against him. Yeah,
it shouldn't.
They'll just have to pay him the guaranteed money owed, and that would be it. But yeah, I think in a perfect world, the Rams would love to do that because they know the season's over. But I just don't think money-wise they could make it happen.
Probably not. But I would like to see Stafford go somewhere. I'd like him to go somewhere that's a contender because I think he's got football left in him, and I just think that staying on the Rams is a disaster with that line and the lack of weapons, and Puka's out for weeks. And, I'm sure if they get Cooper Kupp and Puka back,
is Cooper Kupp on IR? Or
no, he might be back this week, but they didn't put him on IR, so he's going to be back this week or next week, or otherwise they're dumb for not.
That'll at least help a little bit.
Yeah, but it's just that, they're terrible. Okay, real quick, I'll start with the ugly because I'll do this one fast since we already talked about it. It's Bo Nix. Bo Nix, ugly as ugly can get. 7 for 15 for -7 yards in the first half, like we said. First time in the modern era that an NFL quarterback completed multiple passes in the first half of a football game for negative yards. It's one thing if you go 1 for 2 for -4 yards, right? Like, oh, well, it's one completion. Maybe it was a screen pass. But to complete 7 times for -7 yards, we were talking about, I was laughing so hard about this yesterday.
Extremely hard to do.
It would be easier to throw 7 interceptions in an NFL game because at least in that, you could just drop back and throw it to the other team. But to throw to your own guys and have them catch it so far behind the line of scrimmage that you lose that many yards is actually one of the funnier things I've ever seen in an NFL game. His final stat line was 12 for 25 for 60 yards. And yet somehow the Broncos with this guy are 2-2. So I guess kudos to Sean Payton. I don't know how they won that game yesterday, but they did. The Jets were so bad offensively, and that's an ugly, though. Like I said, that whole game was ugly. They should fire Nathaniel Hackett for losing that game in general, but they never will do that. Okay, That's my ugly.
Aaron Rodgers, best bud.
Yeah.
Never going to happen.
Adam Sandler.
Boring, ugly, but just the Jags 0-4, 0-3.
That's not boring. It's very interesting to me.
I mean, well, it's one of those deals where I don't know what they do. I think you have to fire Doug Peterson. I don't even necessarily think, I know you're a Doug Peterson hater, I don't think he's necessarily the problem. I think it's Trevor at this point, but it's one of those things that, I mean, the real reason I think you have to fire him is because the epic collapse last year of not winning the division.
Sure.
Like, that was their chance to win. They were huge favorites to win the division last year. They were favored on paper. They were up, 3 games or something? Like, with 5 weeks, it was something crazy, like 3 games with 6 weeks left or something, and blew the division.
They started the year last year 7-1.
Yeah,
since that 7-1 start, Trevor Lawrence has lost 9 consecutive starts.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean,
in the NFL,
crazy.
For the team that has talent like that, it's not like you're the Panthers. That is absurd. Yeah. That is like fire the coach and get rid of the quarterback.
Well, and the thing about it is they're not going to be ready to give up on Trevor yet. And I know that you make some solid points, but they paid him a lot of money and he's not going to go anywhere. So you got to get rid of Doug and you just got to go a different direction. You're 0-4 at this point. Listen, the season's probably, you can't salvage a season more than likely, obviously, but you might as well try it. This is where you get somebody else in there and say, hey, is this our guy? How did we finish the rest of the season? Kind of like Antonio Pierce did in Vegas.
Sure.
Do we want to keep him or do we just want to go in a completely new direction? But yeah, I actually don't dislike Doug Peterson, but what happens is when you lose the locker room like this and you lose this many games in a row, you just have to make a change in the NFL. It's not, like as people say, it's not personal. It's just you've just lost the locker room at this point. When you've lost 9 games in a row, it's over. It's time to move on to go to somebody else.
And you've gone from okay, this guy comes in when Urban Meyer is the head coach, and it's a disaster.
I forgot about Urban even being there.
Yeah, and he turns it around and turns them into a team that makes the playoffs and somehow wins a playoff game. And to me, that's what Doug Peterson does. I know he won a Super Bowl. That had nothing to do with Doug Peterson. Okay, we know that. But yeah, he did what Doug Peterson is good at, which is turning around a bad franchise. The problem is what always happens is Dougie goes up here and then he goes right back down. And if you got to fire him like the Eagles did, where you're on the tick down, but you're not all the way down. The Jaguars are slipping right into a dumpster fire, and it's going to be too late to salvage any of this core team. Trevor to me is done. I really think that. I think he's a bust. I said it from the day he was drafted. And look, I will say this: Jeremiah is giving me shit on the comments. He was saying
Dylan thinks every quarterback's bad.
Dylan thinks every quarterback
he was
sucks.
letting you have it. It was letting you have it.
Dylan thinks every quarterback sucks. Yep. Well, you know what, Jeremiah? I sure look right this year, don't I? Because has there been a damn quarterback that's looked good this year?
Sam Darnold
and Josh Allen. That's about it. Okay, we just talked about Jordan Love, $55 million, sucks. T-Rex Tua sucks.
Wow. That's disrespectful.
T-Rex Tua sucks.
The man has
Dak
a brain
Prescott,
injury. That's wrong.
$60 million. Dude, I have a short of you going, look, T-Rex Tua on the ground going like this, okay? I'm not making
that
fun
would be
of
a great shirt, though.
That would be a great shirt.
If you put his face on a T-Rex.
Oh, we're going to make that. That's going to be our first.
I'm not going to do it.
That's going to be our first piece of merch. I have
too much respect for Tua. What a great player.
Anyway, I look right about quarterbacks.
Worth every penny.
Okay, my ugly is going to be penalties in the NFL.
Yeah, you touch on this one. This is a good one to end. I mean, this is terrible. Yeah,
it's terrible. I mean, it's Sunday in the NFL. I'm ready to sit in there and watch NFL and enjoy the football. And it's become the National Flag League. That's what it is. It's not the National Football League. It's the National Flag League. That's what it has become. Through 4 weeks, penalties are up 25% over from the last 4 years.
It seems like 50%.
Okay,
but,
it does. But even think about how bad 25% is. So, I believe I saw a stat that over the last 3 years, the average penalties per game were 11. We're at 15.4 penalties thrown per game, 13.2 accepted per game through 4 games. It's out of control. And it's not just the numbers, it's the eye test. It's previously when I watched football, it was if your player on your fantasy football team or a team you bet on scores a touchdown, you're excited. And then 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 15, there's a flag and it's disappointing.
It's more like
no.
5. Oh,
I'm saying in the past, that's what it used to feel like.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it was more like a rare thing.
Yeah.
And now literally, and I remember you saying this yesterday, and it's the same thing that I do. It's when a touchdown scored, you don't celebrate anymore. You're just looking around to see if there's a flag. And it's a relief when there isn't, because I would say 1 out of every 4 touchdowns is called back for a penalty.
Yeah, you got to wait about 10 seconds too. It's not like you see right away. They're like, oh well, wait a second, there's a flag down. Come out late, because a lot of what they do now is they'll look, which is funny. You used to have to throw a flag right away, but now it's especially on those screen passes, they'll happen, and then you'll see the ref look and you'd be like, oh, that guy had to be too far, and they'll throw the flag out and move it back for an eligible downfield or whatever.
Nick Saban was talking about it on game day because there was a really bad penalty called against Virginia Tech on a touchdown on Thursday night, and it was not a hold at all. It was just a pancake. And he's like, the most frustrating thing as a coach for me is like, you see these officials and they don't even see the play and they just see a guy on the ground and they just like, oh, it must have been a hold. Like, no, he just made a good block. And so it's just, that's what it's become. And it's like so frustrating. To me, the two most frustrating, I mean, there's a million of them, but the two most frustrating in the NFL are they're holding, because a holding is happening on, more than any other penalty live game. And then number two, it's the pass interference calls where they're a spot foul and it's 55-yard penalty. They've got to fix that. I mean,
it needs to be a 15-yard penalty.
It needs to be a 15-yard penalty.
There is, I think even the XFL or whatever it's called now, the UFL, is ahead of the game on this as well. They had two different penalties.
Did they actually?
Yes. If it was an absolute blatant, like, if someone's behind you and you grab them by the horse collar and bring them down, it's a spot foul. But if you're both going for the ball and there's too much contact, it was 15 yards.
That's what it should be.
And they should go back to face mask too, where there's a 5 or 15-yard face mask. Like, you should, like, if someone barely grazes your helmet, it shouldn't be 15 yards. It should be 5 yards and, whatever. But it's like, now it's only 15-yard penalties. Yeah. And in the pass interference, like I said, there's certain ones that you're like, okay, that needs to be a spot foul. He was going to score a touchdown, and he brought him down, right? Or a 15-yard penalty. It's like how it is in, weirdly enough, it's like a soccer rule. It's like, it's the referee's judgment.
Exactly.
If you get brought down, if you're going in to score, it's a red card. But if you, whatever, it's just a yellow.
Right.
So it's like that they need to be able to do that in football.
And they have so much,
figure that out.
And they have so much communication now. Like, literally, they will do things, and I've seen them do this in both, and I believe it happens in college too, but basically replay assist now on things like illegal man downfield, where they're like talking to somebody upstairs and they're like, oh yeah, there was an illegal man or there wasn't. They're looking at the replay. I forget the game, but there was a game this week that like I saw 20 seconds after the play, they're trying to figure out whether they're going to throw a flag or not. It's like they have that much communication to do that. It should be pretty easy. Like, okay, if we're not, like, we're going to call PI here. And it's like, if you're not sure, upstairs is like, okay, that was that was a blatant one. Like Dean Blandino in the booth in the XFL. It's a blatant one. That should be at the spot of the foul. Or, okay, no, yeah, he tugged his jersey, but it was early in the route. Like, no, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty or whatever, right? Like, that's what needs to happen. It's not that hard. Like you said,
it can be quick.
It can be quick. We move backwards in the NFL. I mean, think about we've
even done it in the NBA where it's like, oh yeah, we can't check who. Like, listen, I like the game to finish too. I don't want 1,000 reviews.
Sure.
But if you should be able to review something in the last minute or last 2 minutes of the game where it's like, okay, let's get this call right. Although I will agree with some people that are on the other end that are like, I don't want to see 6 fucking replays the last 2 minutes of the game, because they will, the coach will be like, something gets tipped and they're like, hey, I just want to make sure it didn't barely graze the guy's finger, right?
But
I hate that part of it too.
Yes.
Where it's like in basketball where a guy comes in, it's a reach-in foul, and the ball is definitely like he's hitting the ball, but at the last second, it's on your thumb last, and they're like, oh, it's their ball.
Not the point. Right.
And that's where replay goes wrong in baseball, too. It's like the guy's clearly safe, but when he popped up for an instant, his tag was on, he's out. Like,
that's not what it was made for.
The spirit of the game.
That's not the point of it, right? Yeah. Like, we're not trying to, if the guy hits the ball out of bounds or hits your hand and it goes, that should be your ball. And then we should not be able to review that. Yeah. I agree. And the last thing I'll close with this is like you said, it can be quick. That's my problem with the whole replay system of every sport. We still have officials going to monitors in game. To me, if you want it, it's pretty simple. You don't have the officials. The officials can make the call on the field, but the officials on the field have nothing to do with the replay. You have somebody with all the technology and all the stuff now, you have somebody in the booth or somebody, in a replay center, and you call and they say, nope, here's the call, boom, we're done. I don't need the official to go over and put a headset on and look into this little tiny screen and tell me it happens in basketball, it happens in football. We go to a commercial break every single time, and I think that is probably why they haven't gone away from it, because they need their commercials, and it's not good when it's quick. That's the only thing I would think about.
Yeah. But in soccer, they do the VAR review, but 90% of it's just handled upstairs. So it's like he has an earpiece in, and unless the guy thinks he got it just horribly wrong upstairs, it's like, yeah, look at it. Yeah, you're right. Penalty. Go on. Move on. Or they're like, hey, go. If it's something crazy, like go check the monitor, and you have the ultimate decision. But yeah, it's Yeah, there's ways to get it done quicker. And like I said, the UFL and the XFL did a brilliant job of it. It's like, oh, no, move the ball back 2 yards. Like his knee was down.
Right.
And you don't have to go look at it, and the NFL's getting there as far as the replay goes. It's getting a little bit better, right? How stupid was it when it was like blatant and they were like, okay, we have to challenge us and go look at it. Now, at least they're like, oh, no, he stepped out 5 yards ago. We're moving the ball back. So thank God we at least got there. But
no, I completely agree. I mean, it's just this needs to be fixed. It's just it's not enjoyable to watch on a Sunday anymore. It's not. I mean, I'm tired of watching this stuff. Okay, we can move on to well, I guess should we do WNBA or not first?
Give the people what they want.
How dare I?
5 for 5 last week.
5. I've heard
Mr. Mitz couldn't believe it.
I heard
he was thinking there was funny, but listen, if I need to shut my computer for just so people know there's no funny business going on. And I did that when Alex was in here, correct? Yeah, Alex didn't know. Bailey, sometimes I look at Bailey and try to get a read because Bailey does know some WNBA players, but I went 5 for 5 with Alex in here.
I said I don't think he could have cheated on this one, but while you open it back up, you said you were going to close it.
Oh, no, I won't type on it.
I'm joking.
My phone's over here.
I'm joking.
I was looking at the box score here for Georgia.
Here we go. All right, number 1.
Dylan's going to try to make this real tough at home, people. He can't.
Well, you can't go 5 for 5.
Jeremiah claims he's like, I went 5 for 5 on that too.
There's no way.
He's like, yeah, I did.
That's garbage.
It's time to play WNBA or not.
Zoom in.
Hold on, let me go full screen.
You got to go full screen.
Okay. I'll go up and down. You need in case you want to examine the body there.
Not a WNBA player.
Man, that's 6 in a row he's gotten right.
Boom!
That is Aisha Tyler. She's an actress. I'm pretty surprised you got that one.
I just knew he was starting out with a no, Bailey. I just knew it. He had to go no.
Guessing based on like the test answers. No, like, this one was going to be C.
This one, I thought she looks. Not that she looks like old, but she looks like a little bit older. So I thought we're doing only active WNBA, correct? So I thought maybe she just looks a little bit older, and I was like, I don't think she's in the WNBA.
That was my.
She looks like she's about maybe 40 years old, and I was like, probably doesn't play.
That was my one issue with doing this one was she looked a little bit old. Yeah, I guess that was my undoing here. I guess
it could have definitely been a WNBA player, but
and that's not number 2. Hold on, number 2. Here we go. Number 2. Is this a WNBA player or not?
This is a trick. That's not a WNBA player. It's way too obvious.
Yes, I missed it. That's a WNBA player. Let's go.
It's way too obvious.
Oh, my gosh. I knew I'd get him on that one. Okay, I did some work here. That's Jaylen Brown of the Dallas Wings. Of course, not to be mistaken for Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Of
course it is. Yeah, I mean, that one. I was like, that was so obviously a WNBA player that I was like, it can't be a WNBA player. I was like, that can't be. There's no way. There's no way. It's just a layup. But yeah, that was tricky. You were like, Turner's going to look at this and be like, that's a WNBA player, but he's trying to trick me. And I should have done the reverse. Yeah. I should have. I really should have.
This is becoming
I shouldn't have. Yeah, it's like
a lesson in game theory. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like looking at it and I was like, and I should have just held my tongue for a second because I was like, that looks like a WNBA player. Yeah. He wants me to think it's not a WNBA player. It's got to be a WNBA player.
Is it like poker or game theory or chess?
One for 2.
All right, 1 for 2. Let's see if he can bounce back on this one. All right, number 3, WNBA player or not? See, now I got him. Now I got his head spinning.
Yeah, now I have no idea at this point. Okay, let's zoom in.
I just needed to get him to miss one, and now he's all.
Okay, look, that looks. She's sitting down, but she looks tall. She looks pretty damn tall. I'm going to say that is a WNBA player.
Yeah, that is a WNBA player.
She just looks tall.
All right, that's Ray Burrell of the LA Sparks. What? I don't know. I found that on her Instagram because a lot of times it's really hard to find pictures of actual WNBA players
that aren't in jerseys.
And so, like, usually I have to look them up on Instagram and just screenshot their Instagram because it's impossible to find, like, pictures of them in a normal setting because they're not real athletes. Okay, number 4. Is this a WNBA player or not? WNBA player or not?
Oh, this is a tough one.
I'm really hoping you missed this so that we have the deciding 5th one. Oh, he's stumped here. He is stumped. I knew this one. I almost didn't include this one, too. I was back and forth on whether to include this one.
This is not a WNBA player.
Let's go. That's a WNBA player right there. Let's go. That's Derica Hamby of the LA Sparks, formerly of the Las Vegas Aces. She was on the 3-on-3 team in the Olympics.
Here we go.
All right.
Got the drama we wanted.
And it all comes down to this. It all comes down.
Can he have 4 straight winning weeks?
Can he have 4 straight winning weeks? And this is this is a tough one. This is a tough one. I think you're going to have trouble with this one. Is this a WNBA player or not?
Zoom in. I need to see if I see an Adam's apple. It is a WNBA player.
Let's go! It is not a WNBA player. That is a coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and it looks just like a WNBA player. She's got the tattoos on her arm. She's got the shaved side of her head. She looks like a WNBA player, but she is not.
The only reason I actually guessed it, you stumped me there. That's a good one. That was a good last one, too. Someone that is on the sidelines.
Katie Sowers is her name.
Should have known. The background and like the shirt. I thought that maybe that like you just like cover. Is that like the actual photo?
I cut her out. Look,
got it.
I cut her out.
Yeah, but then when you put it on that background, I was thinking there was my thought process was there's probably 49ers stuff on it or something.
No, it was on a football field.
Got it.
And then,
got it.
And then
so I thought
right,
that was like going to be on like a basketball court, and I could tell you did something with the background. So I was like, I bet that is a WNBA player.
See right here,
this one looked too
49ers.
So
right
this
here.
one looked too obvious. That's why I didn't know. But I just got them mixed. The 2 and 5.
You did.
That's all right. You got me.
Hey,
you got another. You got to win. Got to win on the board.
I needed one. Weeks. I needed one. He's gotten 3 winning weeks in a row. He went 5 for 5 last time.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe you went 5 of 5 2 of the last 4 times. So I had to have one, and I made this one real tricky. I thought last week was hard. And you got all 5 of them. I was impressed. But this week, not so much. I will take my wins where I can get them. Okay, now we're going to move on to some college football. And hopefully we'll get through this kind of quick. Okay, so talking some college football.
We can just go into the big games if you want. I mean,
let's talk about Georgia Bama because that was the game of the week.
That's a big one. Yeah, I mean, as
that
far
was
as
the game of the week,
there are some other okay ones, but that was the one that matters.
I do want to talk about the Miami finish.
Yeah, let's talk about. Actually, let's get into that first.
Okay, let's talk about that. So Miami, if you didn't watch the game, just real quickly, and then I'll let you go ahead. If you didn't watch the end of the game, and I'll put the little box mini highlight because I can put highlights on there if I keep them small enough and I don't get tagged by YouTube. Like I put them in a little box on the left side of our screen. But if I put them as a whole screen, it'll get flagged as copyright. Anyway, sorry.
Interesting.
So Miami was down the whole game as 17.5-point favorites. Definitely should have lost. They were undefeated, number 7 in the country, and they end up scoring late, taking the lead. Virginia Tech
I'm telling you, maybe in the last, maybe ever, the luckiest drive I've ever seen in my life. 4th and 3, Restrepo falls down. He somehow gets his hand up. The ball was thrown low, I guess, so he somehow gets a hand up and then catches it after he falls. Next play was a fumble, right, that they picked up and ran for like 30 yards.
Yep.
And then the next one should have been a 20-yard sack. In the NFL, they would have called it a sack because they didn't want to throw him down. And then Cameron Ward makes a great play, flips it out. The guy runs it all the way down to the 1-yard line. It was a crazy sequence of events.
It was almost meant to be.
Yeah,
like
as soon as they scored
Georgia Tech last year.
Yeah, as soon as they scored there, I was like, okay, I don't know how,
And what's funny is, and so they score there, and they take the lead after all of that, and then they come back down. Virginia Tech mismanages the clock like crazy on the last play. Like, had 2 timeouts, basically let the clock almost run entirely out, and instead of having like they should have easily, without not getting up, like they didn't ever have like a 4th down. So like without that, they should have easily either scored or not scored. Like the clock shouldn't have run
had
out.
It down to like the 10 with 15 or 20 seconds left.
At least, right?
They did a horrible
and
job.
So and ended up, instead of that, they had it on the 30 with one last play. And then on that play, it was a false start on Virginia Tech. And Mario Cristobal pulled a classic Mario Cristobal and called timeout right before the false start for no reason, allowed Virginia Tech to then draw up a play, which was just a Hail Mary. And then, of course, the Miami DBs on the last play on the Hail Mary try to bat the ball. They try to intercept the ball instead of just batting it down. And so it's this big scrum for the ball, right? And you don't know who caught it. The ball's not on the ground is what we see, right, when it comes down. Like, is it a catch? We don't know. Then we see the ball get ripped out. it looks like it's incomplete. The Miami players run off the field, celebrate. The cannons go off. The lights go off. And then all of a sudden, the commentators are like, wait, the officials are ruling this a touchdown. They rule it a touchdown on the field. They didn't know whether it was a touchdown or not. They completely guessed. Now, obviously, the play is getting reviewed. And we look at when they go to the review of the play, what's obvious is that they probably missed the call on the field and that it probably was not a catch. However, there was not clear and obvious evidence to overturn the call on the field. Now, they missed the call on the field and they guessed. They absolutely guessed. So I think in the grand scheme of things, and I'll let you go ahead, the grand scheme of things, I think theoretically, like, who should have won the game on that play? Miami should have won, meaning like from I guess this is like not a good way to look at it, but like from a moral perspective or an justice perspective, that was more than likely an incomplete pass. And I think Miami should have won the game. That what should have just happened, and this would have been very simple. It should have been called incomplete on the field because nobody saw that as a catch. The ball was on the ground. They didn't know. And then it should have stood as a catch. Unfortunately, it's not what happened. And when they did that, like you texted me that night, had that call been called a catch, it would have stood for Miami. They were going to win regardless when that happened. The refs made a big mistake by calling it on the field, I think. You tell me if you disagree with that.
Well, I just would have not made, so in a situation like that, when it's the last play of the game, I know this sounds weird to people, but you really don't even have to make a call. You can just get together and just say, the previous play is under review, and then go look.
But are you allowed to do that?
I don't know if they are, but regardless, I'm with you. It's weird. It's a weird play. There's so many things that go into it. Because if you look at the play, the guy goes up, he catches for a second, and depending on, you can get into splitting hairs, he catches the ball with 2 feet down. Then, of course, then what comes into is surviving the ground with the ball, And the ball, when he is coming down and laying down, the Miami guys are ripping at it, and the ball absolutely comes out. I just think, like I said, I think Virginia Tech got absolutely fucked in the sense that I agree with you that by the letter of the law, I'm with you in a sense that, like, I don't know if it's a catch. But when they called that a catch, he's ripping it out at the end. When they call that a catch on the field, like we said and I said, if that's Miami in that standpoint, Miami, they're calling that a fucking touchdown every time. There's no way they're overturning it, ever. And so I just think Virginia Tech got screwed in that regard. Like, to me, he has the ball right there, the kid rips it out.
This is the look that I actually think that when I was talking to somebody live, I go, I actually think they might overturn this. Now, when I looked at it again, I'm like, they shouldn't have overturned it. But this is the look where I think, like, see, the ball's already moving right there. The ball's already moving. Then, like, he doesn't have the ball right there. He does not have the ball. The ball's sitting on somebody else. That's why I think it's...
No, it moves late. Right? There's no doubt. My whole thing is...
Like, when does he have the ball?
For example, if in anything when it comes to... And I get
it's moving right there.
The surviving the ground, whatever. I get that part of it. But the thing is, like, when you catch a ball in the end zone, 95% of the time, if you catch the ball like this, and you have 2 feet down... and then someone comes and swipes it out of your hands, they call it a touchdown. It's possession, 2 feet, the play is over. Now, this is different because they're all going to the ground.
He never got 2 feet down, actually. His feet are actually in the air.
He just needs 1 foot down.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is you're saying, like, if he catches it with 2 feet down, you just said if he catches it with 2 feet down,
well,
and then
1 foot down in college.
Whatever, I
keep saying 2.
That's my point. He catches it catches it with a foot down and rips it out. It's a touchdown. I agree. I don't think that's what happened. I think he caught again. I'm 100% agree that it should have stood. 100%, it should have stood. But when I'm looking at this again, and I'm curious Bailey's thoughts too. Like, to me, it's just like if I'm looking at that, I would say honestly, 90 to 95% of people would say that's incomplete. Like, meaning there is close to indisputable evidence that it's complete, but it's not enough to overturn it. But I just don't see that as a catch at all. I think they made a bad call on the field. That was the problem. They didn't want to screw Miami by being like...
I mean, look, the ball's not moving at that point.
You don't even know if he has the ball yet. Look at his hand. The ball's definitely moving. Okay, look,
regardless, listen.
He comes down. He's coming down right here.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
if you look at it, you can say it's incomplete. My whole point is There's zero video evidence that says that's incomplete.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's just
I agree with that.
I get that if you're looking at it and say, hey, we have to make a call here, you would probably call that incomplete, which I agree with. But I'm just saying the ruling on the field, which everybody says matters, which I think it shouldn't. I agree with that part of it too. But if the ruling on the field, if you have to have, the word is clear and decisive evidence that it was incomplete, they don't have that. Virginia 100%. Tech got fucked. Yeah.
But see, here's the thing.
And I agree with the refs. They shouldn't have made that call on the field.
Right.
But you have to, I mean, if that's a call you make on the field and that's the verbiage on how you have to overturn something and you want the officials to actually, and like I said, I don't like that rule either. Yeah. I think you should just get it right. But they got screwed in that regard. And if it's reversed, everybody knows Miami would have got the benefit of the doubt.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I will also say this. We were talking about officials earlier, and you're saying the spirit of the game. And it's like, if a ball gets tipped out of bounds off somebody's hand and they hit your hand out of bounds, it shouldn't be your ball, right? Like, it's the same, but by the letter of the law, if they review it, it's off that guy. If they were, if like,
yeah, no, I don't like the rule.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. But listen,
I don't like the rule.
It's like, okay, if we're gonna review that, like if it's my team, I'm sitting there and I was thinking, now again, I was rooting for Miami because I took a live $10 bet on them. But look, it doesn't matter. It's $10. I honestly could care less about that.
But if it was the other way around, you would have been like, how on earth did they overturn?
100% I would have. Yeah. But also what I said was, I said this live. I said, I think they're probably going to. Actually, I take it back. I said they're going to overturn it, but they shouldn't. That's what I said. I was texting Stash out a bunch of money on the game, on Miami to win. Yeah, he took him live. Regardless, hold on. So he goes, oh my God, they're gonna say stands. I go, actually, I think they're gonna give it to Miami just because I thought they were gonna do what they did. Yeah. But I think, to me, it's if I'm a Miami fan and I'm watching that, I'm like, okay, or like if I'm a fan of the team and this happens to, right? And Miami loses, like let's say they say stands. My argument then is this: they had no idea on the field. They didn't call it immediately. They talked for 15, 20 seconds. They had no clue. So you're going to make a call that you don't know, and then you're going to say, well, sorry, we don't have enough to overturn the call that we guessed on in the first place. That's a shitty way to lose. That's almost as shitty, not as, but almost as shitty way as just losing the way Virginia Tech lost. That's my thing, is like they just fucked up by calling it on the field the way they did. It should have been called incomplete. It would have stood. There's no controversy. There's zero controversy with that. There's no way you're ever overturning and saying that's a catch if they call it incomplete on the field.
But the controversy lies in the fact that they did call it a touchdown.
I agree.
I mean, I get
agree,
it.
But they got the call right in terms of what I think should have happened. They got the call wrong in terms of what the rule is. That's what I think it is. I think they screwed Virginia Tech, but 100%.
It all depends on, like I said, it all depends on the names on the front of the jersey too. It was simply a business decision.
I 100%
if that's Miami,
agree.
It's a touchdown. 100 times out of 100. And if I was the coach, I'd say that in the deal. Like, listen, if that's Miami and it's reversed, they win that game 100 times out of 100. I don't care what anybody says. No one's changing my mind.
I think also if Virginia Tech is undefeated there and number 7 in the country and Miami's unranked, then they say that stands.
Exactly. So that's what I'm just saying. It's circumstantial.
Because they're Miami.
No, it's circumstantial.
Right. They're the only shot. They're the only shot of the playoff.
Needs them to go to the playoffs.
I told Bailey that in the car. I said, if that's, I'm sure the ACC called out and said that's going to, that
they don't give a shit that it's Miami. They just need a team in the playoff.
They need a team in the playoff, and especially after last year. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But that it was a very controversial ending, and I agree.
And that's where I think they need to have, they can be ACC officials on the field, but college football needs an unbiased group that isn't ACC. Like, I think that when you go to review something, it shouldn't be that league reviewing it. It should be like, when like arbitration court, it should be someone that is classified to do that job and has no interest in it and says, nope, this is what we're going with because you guys called it that on the field.
I agree. I also think they need to change the rule, and I do not think, like, especially on a play like that, I think you should be able to do what you said at the beginning, where you don't make a call and then you say, like, because if it'd be like, it's like in basketball, if you call, like, hey, we don't know who it's out on, it's a jump ball, right? Like, making them make a call on the field is wrong because that's what this all stems from. If you don't make a call on the field and you go and review that, that is called incomplete, and Miami wins the game. And that's my problem with it, is just, like, that's my justification for saying I think Miami deserved to win based on that. Like, nobody knew. Looking at the video, they should have won. They shouldn't have won, but they should have won. It's just a weird deal. Like, that's my justification for that.
Yeah, just don't make a call.
Okay, moving to Georgia-Bama. Georgia-Bama was it went from this is going to be the best game of the year to this is the worst, most disappointing game ever, and it wasn't good football for a lot of the time, to Georgia comes back and actually looks like the better team for the whole second half, and then just crazy ending, touchdown for Georgia to go ahead for the first time all night after being down 28-0. Bama comes back, and on the first play, Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old freshman who's the youngest player in college football, goes 80 yards, makes a spectacular play. They go back ahead. Georgia goes right down the field. Carson Beck throws his third interception and fourth turnover of the night to lose the game. What are your takeaways from that crazy
Well,
game?
Jalen Milroe is for sure the Heisman favorite now. I don't know what the odds are. You can go look it up. But
you think he's ahead of Cam Ward?
Fuck yeah. 27-33, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, QBR of 98.5. He ran for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's got to be ahead of Cameron Ward now after that.
Holy
Cameron Ward,
shit.
He's a huge
plus
favorite.
175.
I told you. He's got to be a huge favorite.
But, dude, here's the funny thing. That's
the biggest game of the year, and he had 500 yards of total offense.
I agree. I'm not shitting. I have a ticket on Jalen Milroe to win the Heisman at 25-1.
Yeah.
So this is in my best interest. My problem with that is how you look at that and be like, he didn't do a thing in the second half. The only thing he did in the second half, he was amazing in the first half.
Yeah.
The only thing he did in the second half was the jump ball that honestly should have been intercepted the last play. Ryan Williams made a great play. The corner didn't turn around. At the very least, it should have been knocked down.
That was the difference in that game was Alabama's corner turning around when he threw the ball to the corner of the end zone and him not, and Georgia's not. Credit to Ryan Williams for making that play. But, yeah, it was just a jump ball from Milroe there. But he had an incredible first half. Alabama, it's just a classic, hey, we're up 28-0. The defense is playing pretty good. Let's just not F this up.
Sure.
Instead of keeping their foot down on the pedal and doing. Now, I'm sure Kirby Smart made some, adjustments at halftime to help a little bit. But Georgia's defense looked horrible first half.
What was wrong with
They're
them?
just nowhere near as good as they
actually looked. I know they didn't play anybody, but dude, look, Clemson's offense has looked better the last couple weeks. They scored 3 points on Georgia week 1. Georgia hadn't allowed a touchdown the entire season. Alabama scored 4 in the first quarter.
Milroe's just a problem, dude. It's like you have to play a ton of zone. You can't really play man to man because if you do, he's just going to take off on you. I mean, it's just
dude, I put $25 on him to win the Heisman. That's awesome.
Oh damn, that'd be good. That'd be good for you.
25 on him it was at 16-1, but 25 on him at 16-1. Yeah, pretty good bet.
Yep.
Now look, we're week 4. Like that, Cameron Ward was the favorite. Now he is Milroe is a giant favorite, but
yeah, after that game, I knew he had to go up a ton. I mean,
he's still plus.
Bama is obviously. I mean, though I still think they're going to end up losing the game probably.
I think so too.
But that shouldn't.
I still don't think he's a good thrower.
I
don't think he's a good thrower. I think he can throw the deep ball, and it's kind of like they do a lot of what. To me, it's like a basketball analogy. It's a layup or a 3 for him. It's either a short screen pass or it's a deep ball. He doesn't throw like intermediate passes very often. Now, I will also say, like you said, and I'm not trying to shit on Jalen Milroe. I think he played phenomenal. Like, he played better than when I saw that kid play 2 years ago, he came in for injured Bryce Young. The guy could not throw the ball. He could not complete a forward pass.
It's Big Dog's boy. You saw him take 3 passes.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Said he's going straight to the league.
He's not a good thrower.
Straight to the league, homie.
But to be fair, those guys were running wide open down the field the entire first half. Like, I'm talking like, I don't know what Kirby Smart thought. Like, I didn't think Alabama had very many weapons besides Ryan Williams, and you have a young kid playing in that environment. You don't know what you're going to get at a 17-year-old. But my goodness, they ran wide open on him. I mean, whatever they wanted offensively, they did in the first half. Absolutely ran. Milroe getting to the outside. And that's what they were talking about this a lot on the broadcast, how Alabama was attacking the edges on Georgia and trying to get the ball outside and showing their speed. I just didn't know Georgia had that lack of athletes. I almost think that they just were ill prepared because the way they came back, and I get Georgia took the foot off the gas, or Alabama took the foot off the gas, but that Alabama defense is not good. I mean, Carson Beck is terrible. He lit them up in the second half. He really did. I mean, I don't know what did they finish with total offense, Georgia? It was probably relatively close. Like, there's no way Alabama outgained Georgia by 100 yards. Georgia had to have had at least 500 yards of total offense in that game.
Oh, they did, for sure.
I mean, what did they... okay, I just pulled it up. Here we go. Yeah, they threw for 439 yards. They had 500. They just never established the run. That was the problem. Alabama ran it 32 times for $173. Georgia ran it 26 times for 80 yards. Right?
It's crazy that Georgia turned the ball over 4 times.
And should have won.
Should have won.
Should have won.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia.
That's why I think this
for going down 28-0 to respond and come back is impressive.
That's why I think that I'm not as impressed with the win for Alabama. It's like you're at home. Georgia turns the ball over 4 times, right? You're up 28-0 in the first half, and yet you end up losing the game, or you end up almost losing the game. Like, that should have never been close. They should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. That Georgia should have never, not to mention, you look at Georgia, like, that's not a team built to come back. Carson Beck is not that type of quarterback. How did he throw for 439 yards?
Figured something out.
I mean, I guess. I will say
throwing the rock around. I mean, they had like 2 huge plays too. I mean, one of them was like an 80-yard touchdown, right? I mean, at least one. I think there was 2 giant pass plays. And credit Jeremiah, I wanted to shout out because before the game you said final score is going to be like Bama. He's like, it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be like 38-34 Bama or something along those lines.
41-34, very close.
He was pretty close.
Very close.
He was like, see, I know ball. He said something like that. He was drunk, but yes, anyway. That was a very good pick. That was before he was, it was a good pick. I didn't think it would be near that high scoring. I didn't realize that those offenses were just going to be able to throw it all over each other, but they did.
I mean, Alabama, 11 yards per pass. Like, that's just absurd.
Crazy.
I don't understand how Milroe had a 98.5 QBR considering he threw a pick and they didn't do a thing in the second half, but whatever. I also think QBR, if you have a really low QBR, you probably had a terrible game, but not always is the QBR like great when you have a high one. Like Carson Beck had a 70. He threw 3 interceptions and damn near cost him the game. Like, I don't get that at all. I guess because it takes into account the fact that he threw a touchdown to go ahead and all of that, whatever. Anyway, do you think Georgia only dropped to 5? Is that warranted? Do you think they should have dropped more than that?
No.
No? Really?
No, they're playing on the road at Alabama. We're down 28, responded, turned the ball over 4 times and still almost won. No, they're definitely a top 5 team in the country.
How good is the SEC, man? That's crazy.
Really, really good.
Okay.
Really, really good.
Okay, yeah, there were two other teams that went down. 2 other top 10 teams. Utah was undefeated, number 10. They went down to Arizona by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I know Cam Rising just never plays. I mean, it's just like every week. He's going to play.
He just collects paychecks.
Just unbelievable, dude. Like 8 years now. They lost. And then the biggest shocker. Well, let's do biggest winners and losers real quick. We'll go through these. We'll go quick segments on these. So biggest winner, number 1 for me was going to be Alabama, but we'll go to, I'll say Ashton Jeanty. And we already mentioned him a little bit in Bad Beats, but Ashton Jeanty, 26 carries, 259 yards, 10 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Through 4 games, the guy's run for 845 yards. He's running over 10 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns. He did not play in the second half against Portland State. Look, if he wanted to, he could have scored 10 touchdowns against Portland State. They chose to rest him because they knew they were playing probably a pretty decent Washington State team the following week. The guy's the Heisman Trophy winner. I know they say Milroe's the favorite. I don't even know if he has odds. What is?
He should.
I'm scrolling down here. I don't even see him on here.
That's crazy.
I don't see him anywhere on here. Looking at like so it goes Jalen Milroe, then Cam Ward. Oh, I take it back. He's 4th. I'm sorry, he's 4th, but he's plus 900. Like, how you have Travis Hunter above that kid is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it is. Travis Hunter is nowhere near as good as Ashton Jeanty. Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe are nowhere near as good as Ashton Jeanty. This guy, if you don't know who Ashton Jeanty is, okay, and I'll put the small highlights on the bottom right for this guy because he's so good. I'll go and do that for this specific segment.
He's a tank.
But if you don't know who he is, go look at his highlights for this year. 2 runs in that game against Washington State are run of the year level. In one game, he had 2 separate runs that were run of the year level. I showed one of them on Bad Beats. He is unbelievable. He's the best running back in the country. He will be a top 10 NFL draft pick, and that does not happen for running backs very often. He's like a Bijan Robinson type guy. He will be a top 10 NFL draft pick, and he will be worth every dollar he gets in the NFL. He is Marshawn Lynch good. That's how good that guy is, and he will translate to the NFL 100%. That's how good. That's
tough guy to bring down. That's for sure.
That's how good I think he is.
Yeah, I think he should. I think he should be the Heisman favorite for sure. He's been spectacular. Biggest winner for me, Kentucky going on the road, beating Ole Miss. Ole Miss kind of laid an egg, but I think I said in the Pick'em show, I picked Ole Miss to win the game. I have them winning the SEC, which I didn't know Texas was going to be this good, so it doesn't look great. But Stoops rolls the dice, goes for it on 4th and 7 with about 4 minutes left. I guess he got so much shit for punting against Georgia. He said, fuck it, I'm just going to throw it up top and see if someone can make a catch. Kiffin was really funny in his presser. He's like, yeah, credit to Stoops. I don't think he's ever done anything like that in his life. But, yeah, it worked out. Went for it and beat us. Missed field goal at the end from Ole Miss. Just as, Kentucky's a good team. I think everybody that one lost where they just got annihilated by a bad a decent South Carolina team out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would say bad.
But, I mean, yeah, should have beat Georgia in reality, probably. I mean, anyway, that game was a coin toss and went on the road to the SIP and beat Ole Miss. So
that's my only thing with Georgia is like they very well could have 2 losses here. That's the only reason I would say maybe they're not top 5.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think the SEC's that. I think everybody's so good in the
they
SEC.
Are.
It's like at least those top teams.
They are. No, they're really, really good. My next winner, and I'll do this one quickly. I'm gonna go with Clemson. Haven't really played anybody, but since week 1, they've just looked so much better. The ACC is wide open with the exception of Miami. I think it's probably pretty clear now. Those are the 2 best teams in the ACC, Clemson and Miami. Mm-hmm. And Cade Klubnik has played much better, again, albeit against bad competition, but they're scoring 40, 50 points. They're putting up big numbers. They're winning games by multiple touchdowns. And after I saw them, and I actually was going to give this out on the Pick'em show, and I didn't. I bet Clemson after Florida State lost week 1 and after Clemson lost to Georgia. Clemson was like plus 400 or plus 450 to win the ACC. And I just thought, Miami is always a dumpster fire with Cristobal. There's a decent chance they get to that game, and I'm holding a plus 450 ticket on them. So I think they're actually going to win the ACC. That's my bold prediction with Clemson. And I don't think Dabo is a genius by any means, and I don't think Clemson or Cade Klubnik are that great, but I think Miami always chokes, and the ACC sucks besides those 2 teams, and I think Clemson's going to find a way to beat Miami and win the ACC title. But I think they're a big winner this week.
They definitely could. My second big winner was Penn State at home. Handled business. They didn't cover that number that everybody thought that was crazy. The public was all over Illinois, but they damn well near did. I mean, it was a pretty dominant performance. Team ran for 240 yards. Singleton and Allen, I mean, one had 18 carries for 102, Allen, and then Singleton had 16 for 94. That Illinois defense is pretty good, and they ran it all over them. So that's not a flashy team, pretty boring. Struggled with Bowling Green, although we found out when Bowling Green went to A&M and kept that game close the whole way. They're not a bad team. So Penn State's pretty much annihilated everybody else. I don't expect them to be. Did they play Ohio State this year or no?
Who?
Penn State.
Penn State does play, I believe, Ohio State.
Okay, let's see.
But they don't play Michigan, I believe.
They do play Ohio State.
They just play. They play Ohio State at home, but they don't play Michigan.
Got it.
Right?
Well, they would beat Michigan this year anyway. But
no, I agree. But I'm saying like of the better teams, they have. I think they go to USC.
They do. Well. They go to USC and they play at home against Ohio State.
Right.
I think they'll end up losing to Ohio State. They're just a little bit more dynamic of a team, better athletes, play pretty good defense. Them against USC, I think it's going to be one of those where I think you're going to see Singleton and Allen run for 300 yards in that game, and they will beat USC on the road just because the USC cannot stop.
What's that line at USC?
Team. I don't know.
-7?
They play them. What will they be at USC?
Yeah, you think it'll be 7?
No, I think it'll be them by probably. Well, I don't know. The respect Vegas gave them this week.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a really bad. It's just a bad matchup.
You know what's funny in that Penn State Illinois game I was watching, because basically I was breaking down that game and I didn't even get. I got to 14. That's what I made the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand how this is that big. And I said it right away on the show. I was like, that number makes no sense. But normally when the number makes no sense and it's off, they end up the big favorite ends up covering. The big public dog gets blown out. Well, oddly enough, we were watching that game and I go, I'm telling you, something weird's about to happen. Something weird's going to happen, and Penn State's going to find a way to cover this game. Well, Penn State on the last play, Illinois fumbled the ball, and Big Boy for Illinois picked it up and was running back to cover. And the running back for Illinois came and tackled him down. Like, it literally was almost a horrific beat. And the running back for Illinois come out and saved the day.
Saved the day.
Because we were watching, and Jonathan was over, and my dad, and I was like, look, they're going to find a way to cover. I've been saying it the whole night. They were tied, like, in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, people that were somewhat sharp money, I think, were on Illinois, and then every Joe Schmo was on them, too. So I was like, They're going to find a way to lose.
That's why I didn't want to take it. Yeah. I really thought they were going to cover that, but I didn't touch it because of that.
Yep.
Real quick, do you have any more winners or no?
No, those are my 2. So
here I'll do a couple of quick ones here. How about Rutgers?
Butgers
4-0. What did I tell you? I tell you this every week. It is hard to win in Piscataway. I'm telling you. You do not want to play Greg Schiano in Piscataway. They beat Washington. They're 4-0. They're playing this week. If they win this week, it'll be their first 5-0 start in over a decade. They've only done that, I believe, 4 times in school history.
I picked Butgers in that game too, and there was I watched some of it. They got a lot of breaks in that game. A lot of breaks.
Don't talk shit about
Washington blocked that field goal, and then the kid ran on the field to celebrate, and Butgers got the ball back and scored a touchdown before halftime because the kid ran on the field to celebrate. And I think Washington, I saw, had it inside Butgers 10 and came away with, or had it in the red zone 3 times and came away with like 0 points. There was 2 missed field goals and then a turnover on downs on the 1 or something like that.
Grady Gross, that's the kicker who, like, for Washington, who was like a walk-on and ended up getting a scholarship and had like a good year last year. He was 7 for 8 going into the, or no, 6 for 7 going into that game.
Yeah.
He was 1 for 4 on field goals in this game. Yeah. And he missed from inside of 40 and inside of 30. So yeah, Butgers was very lucky. However, it is hard to win in Piscataway.
That's why they won.
And guess who they're playing this week? It's going to be a good one. They play Nebraska, and both teams whoever wins that game will be ranked.
Is it at Nebraska?
It's at Nebraska. So Nebraska will be a big favorite. But Nebraska, dude,
I don't know if they should be a big favorite, but I think
they looked bad this week against Purdue. They were tied late in that game and then scored a bunch and ended up covering 10.5 easily. But okay, we'll move on. Here we don't have to talk about these, but how about Indiana undefeated?
Yep.
I told you that was one of my best bets.
They looked pretty good. I watched some of that game.
They looked really good. Their quarterback, what's his name? He was out of Ohio, Rourke. His name is
one of the Rourke brothers. There's like 3 of them.
He's pretty good. Anyway, Indiana looks really good. We had BYU and Iowa State are both undefeated in the Big 12. Yeah.
Quit talking shit about my Mormons.
I can't believe they
undefeated.
won. I'm going to fade them. I'm going to fade them until they lose.
They're going to keep winning.
No, they're not. Who do they play this week?
That one against Baylor, I was like, man, that was the one. I ended up picking Baylor on the show.
They almost blew the whole game.
I've been picking Baylor on the show. I was like, man, Baylor sucks. I was like, the Mormons are going to beat them. But
I'm taking. Okay, wait. If they're playing Arizona this week, God, I can't take them.
Mormons by a million.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to fade them every week until they lose. I'm just going to keep doing it. Their schedule is just
keep winning. Ooh, Bama Vandy this week.
Oh shit! After a big win, I'm taking Vandy. What's the line? Probably 28.
Alabama by 23. It says.
That's actually short. That's real short. They're gonna have. Is it in Vandy?
Vandy by a field goal.
Okay. No. I'm taking Vandy. I'm gonna take Vandy plus the 23.5. 100. That might be a best bet of mine. Okay. We'll move on to some biggest winners. I'm sorry, biggest losers. Well, I was gonna do Ole Miss, but we already kind of talked about that. Ole Miss is definitely a biggest loser. To lose at home to Kentucky is terrible. But go ahead with the biggest loser with yours.
Biggest loser, it's got to be Ole Miss. You can't lose that game at home. I know I gave Kentucky a big winner, but Ole Miss is a big loser. You got to find a way to win that game. Your defense holds Kentucky to what? But they score 17 points or something like that and win. So
20.
20. You gotta. Lane's got to find a way to win that. He's got to quit getting ready before the games with his daughter and doing get ready with me videos.
He did that?
Yeah, he does it all the time. His daughter's a sorority. So he would sit there and she'd be like, are you excited about the game? It's so funny. He's like, yeah, I think we're doing. He's like, and then she talked to him. He's like, Mom's coming to town this week. He's like, yeah, I know. Are you excited about that? You're excited that she's coming from others? Yeah, whatever. And it's like, she's like talking about her like makeup routine and Lane just sitting there talking. Gotta love Lane, man.
That's so funny, dude.
Anything for the cameras. And then he's got a he's trying to rival, I guess, Herb Street's dog, and he's got a page, and his dog's name's Juice Kiffin. Juice. And he's always out on the field and stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
But anyway, they needed to get that win. That one hurt him.
Does his daughter look like a sorority girl?
Oh, yeah. I was like, I thought funny enough, I thought it was at first when I saw the video, and no disrespect to Lane, I thought it was like his girl, because he dates a 20-something-year-old girlfriend. I was like, he's doing this with his girlfriend or like 30-something-year-old. I was like, dude. And he's like, oh, I was like, oh no. Someone commented, it's like, oh, it's his daughter.
Oh, that's hilarious.
She's in a sorority at Ole Miss. And I was like, oh, that's funny.
How old is he?
Lane?
Is he like 50 or no?
Oh, he's in his 50s, yeah.
Okay. He looks pretty young, even with all the crazy hair and
all the
shenanigans.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
You'd think that would age you.
No kidding. Ole Miss, I guess he stopped drinking. Ole Miss, though, that's the bad law. So they're at South Carolina this week. That's obviously a must-win, and at LSU the week after, which is now a huge game because they still have Georgia on their schedule. They still have Oklahoma. They basically, I think they can only lose once. And I have a hard time believing. Now, they do have Georgia at home, but I have a hard time believing that they beat Georgia. And so, at least this, I just think watching them against a real team because they hadn't played anybody, their offense, I just wasn't impressed with their offense. Jackson Dart looked very average.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game.
I don't know. I'm not sure that this team is like a legit contender to win a championship. I think they're probably a playoff team. Maybe they get in at 9-3, but this is just that's a bad loss at home. If you lose that game on the road to Kentucky is one thing, but to lose it at home as a double digit, almost a 3-touchdown favorite, that's just a bad look.
Can't lose that one.
Can't lose that one. Next biggest loser for me, I'll stick in the SEC, Auburn. Hugh Freeze and Auburn, man. I mean,
fucking scumbag.
That just shows you that karma is a real thing, right? Like to lose that game to Oklahoma, where you're playing a team who has a quarterback starting his first game, right? Because Oklahoma pulled Jackson Arnold last week. Shout out Jeremiah for picking Jackson Arnold as his Heisman favorite.
He had a response to that, by the way.
Michael Hawkins.
He said you have some nerve saying that. He's like, that offense sucks. Every single one of their receivers is out. And the guy that came in and played, he didn't have a good game. He just ran the ball.
Have you watched Jackson Arnold play?
No, not at all.
He's awful.
Well, that was Jeremiah's rebuttal.
I have nothing
to say.
Well, you said it with conviction like you believed it. I'm saying you said that with conviction like you believed it.
Well, Jeremiah is definitely a quarterback guru. Do you think all quarterbacks suck?
Yeah, I do. And Jeremiah is a left-handed quarterback, and they have no souls, okay?
That's right. No souls.
No souls, all right?
You were the best left-handed quarterback to ever live.
I'm going to bleep all of this out. Okay. Last, back to Auburn, okay? Yeah, they don't know what to do with their quarterback, but what's hilarious is they switched to Hank Brown. He throws 4 picks and a half, so they go back to Peyton Thorne, who threw 4 picks against Cal. But what's hilarious is Peyton Thorne actually had a good game. He was 21 of 32 for 338 and 3 touchdowns. And then for some reason on the final drive of the game, on the final drive of the game, they have the ball. There's 4 minutes to go, and they're throwing the ball instead of just trying to run the clock out. And they throw a pick 6 and lose the game. Hugh Freeze is a disaster. Auburn's 2-3. They're 0-2 in the SEC. And don't worry, their schedule gets easier. You know, their next 3 games at Georgia, at Missouri, at Kentucky.
Well,
so that's a great back-to-back home losses to Arkansas and Oklahoma. They literally, that's what, 2-4, 2-5, 2-6. I mean, and then Alabama's their last game of the season. They play Vanderbilt in there, who's not bad. Play A&M. They might win one more game this season. Hugh Freeze might not make it through this. This is pathetic. This is absolutely pathetic.
He shouldn't make. I mean, they'll probably give him one more year. Actually, they'll probably
it's only a second year.
Yeah, they'll go get him a quarterback.
All right, you got another biggest loser?
Yeah, Kansas. I mean, they've just been terrible, man. I mean, everybody thought they could be the hot surprise team, and they're terrible. They're 1-4, 0-2 in the Big 12. Got beat up pretty good by TCU at home. So, I don't know what their deal is. That Williams kid has not been anywhere near as good as advertised. So, they got some problems. They're building that brand new stadium. They're playing elsewhere. Apparently, I guess they did end up playing that game at Arrowhead, but I read something online that was like Kansas has a game scheduled at Arrowhead, but no contract agreement with them yet. Apparently,
what in the world?
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, hey, but anyway, someone wrote that on Twitter, so it's probably fake anyway. But it was a funny
fake news,
just like Danny Dimes being benched.
That's right. That's fascinating.
Yeah, all fake news.
I had Kansas on here too.
Yeah. That's my last one.
All right, I'll do one more. I don't know if I go North Carolina. Okay, I'm gonna go Florida State, but I'll say I'll add in a tiny one. North Carolina lost to James Madison 70-50 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. They followed it up by being up 20-0 at home against Duke. Oh no, I think that was at Duke, but they're up 20-0 against Duke and blew it and lost 21-20. So that's
a bad one.
That's a bad. I mean,
and I will say this: I'm usually wrong about everything, but the one thing that I have absolutely fucking nailed this year is coaches that are going to be gone. I said Mac Brown's going to be gone. He is, and that's not.
He might not make it through the year.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to, resign. Whatever. I think he's done. He's getting older, so no big deal. And then Doug Peterson's going to be the first guy gone, and then Zach Taylor's going to be right behind him. So, I mean, those are the three I said, and those are those, like I said, not right about a lot, but I did nail who's getting fired.
Hey, you're hot this year. You got all three of those, and you got your double-digit the dog of the week went out right. Man, you've been on fire here.
Look at that.
But my actual last biggest loser is Florida State. You lose your first 3 games, and I know you beat Cal last week. Kudos to you. You have the worst quarterback in the Power 5, probably.
Is he still playing? Do they still play, DJ?
Yep. And he started this last week. But they play SMU, who, by the way, I don't think is very good, and who has a quarterback who really can't throw the ball. The kid against Florida State who can't throw the ball, Jennings, for SMU, 16 of 23 for 254, 3 touchdowns. DJU was 12 of 30 and threw 3 interceptions in this game against SMU. They lost 42-16 as a 6-point dog. They are 1-4, and like you talk, I will give you credit. I mean, I did pick Florida State to beat Cal. I got that one. You made me pick them against SMU. I'm not picking them ever again. They play Clemson this week. Then they're at Duke, at Miami. I mean, this team might win 2 or 3 games this year. It's that bad. And Mike Norvell will not get fired, contrary to what anybody thinks.
No, he's definitely not.
He's not getting fired.
He should have made the freaking playoffs.
They should have made the playoffs last year.
Now, them going and get DJU was the worst mistake in the university's history. But other than that,
they now all of a sudden you don't you make the playoff at Florida State, which basically is what they did. Then last year, you probably have 5 years, no matter what. But this has set him back to before the playoff year. So he's back to after this year, he's back to just whatever happens here is going to judge him for going forward.
For sure,
you lose all the credit you built from last year. So anyway, that's my biggest loser. That's all I got from college football. You have anything else you want to talk about? No. I think we probably went over because of the bad beat segment. I may have to cut that one and do it, make it its own little segment. But regardless,
bad beats was good.
It was a good one. It just took a little long time, but hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Probably went too far over, but maybe I'll cut this down a little bit and get it shorter. But hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure to like and subscribe. I forgot to say it at the beginning. Make sure if you're injured or a truck or a car accident, call Jeff Davis. Call the Force. They're here for you. Okay. And get yourself a settlement. Go to Zito's. Check out Zito's. Get yourself a serious sandwich. Get yourself a good bowl of beans. Best sandwich in town. Best Diet Coke in town. I'm just rambling now, but make sure to check out our Pick'em show this week. Our 4th edition. It's getting better and better each time. We'll have some picks for you guys there. Check out my website for some free sports betting picks. And that's all I got for you guys this week. And we'll catch you guys next week.